Roll call, please, Miss Julie.
Alderman Klein.
Here.
Alderman Bledsoe.
Here.
Alderman Guy.
Here.
Alderman Boston.
Here.
Alderman Johnson.
Here.
Alderman Dupree.
Present.
Alderman Young.
Here.
All right, we have a quorum. All right, first item on the agenda is the vote on the municipal docket. Do we have a motion?
Mayor,
Alderman Geis.
make a motion to approve the municipal docket.
We have a motion by Alderman Geis. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Alderman Bledsoe. Is there any discussion? Roll call, please.
Alderman Klein.
Aye.
Alderman Bledsoe.
Aye.
Alderman Guy.
Aye.
Alderman Boston.
Aye.
Alderman Johnson.
Aye.
Alderman Dupree.
Aye.
Alderman Young.
Motion carries 7 in favor, none opposed. Number 2 on your agenda is the consent agenda. Do we have a motion?
Mayor,
Alderman Bostic.
I make a motion to approve the consent agenda items A through double B.
We have a motion by Alderman Bostic. Do we have a second? Second. Second by Alderman Young. Is there any discussion? Roll call, please.
Alderman Young. Aye. Alderman Dupree.
Aye.
Alderman Johnson.
Aye.
Alderman Bostic. Aye. Alderman Guy.
Aye.
Alderman Bledsoe.
Aye.
Alderman Klein.
Aye.
Motion carries 7 in favor, none opposed. Item number 3 is the claims docket. Do we have a motion?
Mayor,
Alderman Geis.
I make a motion to approve the claims docket, general fund, $905,109.85. The library fund, $3,863.63. The economic development fund, $8,382.15. The utility fund, $70,103.69, for a total docket of $987,459.32.
We have a motion by Alderman Geis. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Alderman Klein. Is there any discussion? Roll call, please, Miss Julie.
Alderman Klein.
Aye.
Alderman Bledsoe. Alderman Guy.
Aye.
Alderman Bostic.
Nay.
Alderman Johnson.
Aye.
Alderman Dupree.
Aye.
Alderman Young.
Motion carries 6 in favor, 1 opposed. We are down to number 4, special guests and presentations. Mr. Todd. Mr. Todd? Mr. Todd? Okay. We'll go down to letter B. Representative Jackson. Representative Jackson? Representative Jackson? We can scratch letter B. Letter C, I see Ms. Gillespie is out here with Mrs. Young. Ms. Gillespie, you have the floor, you and Ms. Young, with the Chamber of Commerce.
Hello.
Excuse me just a moment, if I may.
Okay.
Ms. Julie, you saw. Yes, ma'am, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
On behalf of the Horn Lake Chamber of Commerce, we respectfully request to have our Christmas parade December 7th at 6 p.m., starting at the Horn Lake Middle School, ending in the park with a tree lighting. You want the second request? Okay. The second request is for our, instead of a food truck festival, we would like to have a bullfrog festival on October 5th in Latimer Lakes Park.
What does that entail?
Okay. It will have food trucks, live music, a cook-off, a car and bike show, a kids zone, craft and information vendors, animal adoptions from the Horn Lake Animal Shelter, and fun for the family.
Ma'am?
Fun for the whole family.
Oh, great. Yes, ma'am. It sounds like it. It really sounds like it.
No alcoholic beverages.
sold or distributed.
Sold or distributed?
Period.
No free drinks, in other words.
Right.
No.
Is there anything else, ma'am? Before I ask-
Those are the only two requests that we have.
Does anyone on the board? Alderman Klein?
So this Bullfrog Festival, it's a all-day affair, or what's the timeline?
We're thinking from around 10 a.m. till 6 p.m. We want it to shut down by dark.
Okay.
Anyone else? Alderman Johnson?
Good evening, ladies. I have a question about the Christmas activities. So it will be really similar to what we had before, even though the parade was canceled this past year. But we'll travel to the park and still have the same. Other
Correct.
than the displays, will the not vendors, will the floats and everything set up in the park after the?
They will have the
Parade.
opportunity to set up. If they do not want to and want to exit the park, they'll have the opportunity to do that as well before the activities start.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Anyone else? Miss Jeannie, you said before the activity started, you talking about the tree lighting?
The tree lighting, pictures with Santa, the crafts, similar to last year's event, but we want to make it bigger.
And you will need the cooperation of the parks? the
Correct.
police, Fire and Public Works?
Correct.
Have you discussed this with them?
Yes, I have.
Have any of them voiced any objections, or?
I did not discuss it with Public Works, though.
All right. Chief Limbo, Chief? Sir?
Fire's good. Fire and ambulance, we're good.
Police are good? All right. Parks? Since this is gonna be on your ground.
Yes, sir, everything's good.
All right. Alderman Bledsoe?
How many people did we have signed up that were gonna participate this, when it got rained out?
The floats or anyone participating in the parade, it was about 35.
Is that about what we've been doing?
We did right at 40 the year before.
Maybe we can get some more.
Yes.
I think our band might be.
Yeah, our band was, right, we would have had the bands as well. But we'll have the band, and I've been reaching out to other bands too.
Maybe we get going quick enough, the shrine and all that stuff can be in it too.
Hopefully.
Kind of ironic you named it the Bullfrog Corner Festival, because that's 100 years ago when Bullfrog Corner opened up in 24. So-
We had several names in that one won,
Okay.
because it's specific to Horn Lake, we feel.
Anyone else have any questions or comments? Do we have a motion
Mayor, I make the motion to approve the
for
parade
both of them?
for both, yes, sir.
They can be all right in both. We have a motion by Alderman Dupree and a second by Alderman Bledsoe. Is there any discussion? Roll call, please.
Alderman Klein.
Aye.
Alderman Bledsoe. Alderman Guy.
Aye.
Alderman Bostic.
Aye.
Alderman Johnson.
Aye.
Alderman Dupree.
Aye.
Motion carries 6 in favor, 1 recused. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Thank y'all for all y'all do.
We appreciate all that the city does for us.
Members of the board, I've just been informed by Alderman Johnson and by Mr. Billy Campbell that Representative Jackson is here. We'd already gone past you, Representative, but you are a state representative with no objections from the board. Anyone object to going back and ask Representative Jackson to come forward? Please, Representative Jackson.
Thank you so much, Mayor.
Thank you. How's everything in Panola and Tate County?
Things are well.
Good.
We're trying to grow like the city of Horn Lake in DeSoto County,
Oh,
if we can.
Good form.
All right. Well, thank you all again for allowing me to appear before you. I really appreciate it. I have been advised that some of you all were able to tour the site and actually see the dispensary, as well as the chief, to see like the actual operations. We did include a video of the process of actually how individuals go through the dispensary. I don't know if all of you had a chance to see it, but we submitted that video. And in addition, the plans for the operations were sent to the state. I'm just here basically in support as state representative as to what the legislative intent is to secure the actual dispensaries according to what our thoughts were for a dispensary, not necessarily thinking that medical dispensaries would be looked upon in such a way as a operation that will require security for an actual guard, as if transactions were happening that are not ordinarily for a pharmacy. But from a legislative perspective, we did want to have security parameters in place because of the uniqueness of the substance that those dispensaries maintain. And so I emphasize with the gentleman from DeSoto County that's appealing to you all, stating how the cost bearing of a security guard impacts his business. And the reason that I'm stating this is because we have gotten those calls. As I said, I was on the task force for drug policy. And so we have gotten the concerns about the licenses. Anyone that's vested in medical cannabis is financially vested to the tune of a lot of money. And they're definitely wanting to yield as much profit as possible. The argument, the objective for tonight, I think, is to ask or to impede upon the board on his behalf that consideration for revision of the ordinance be considered because of that financial burden of having a security guard in place hourly from the time of opening to close. And I say that because the renewal fees for the license, and I know when ordinances are broken within the city, you have a way to find those individual business and recoup. So will the commissioners for the medical cannabis that come out and make sure that those individuals are following the plans. So Zach Hemp basically submitted a plan to the state that included video surveillance, locking and storing the actual cannabis products so that they would not be accessible or easily accessible. And so those parameters were approved to grant him the license as being sufficient enough for security without an actual security guard. So I'm basically attesting to the security guard not being the major requirement as to provide license to anyone wanting a cannabis license. You do not have to have a security guard, but a city is eligible to create whatever ordinances they want. But I want you tonight to consider this business and, again, the financial restraints that have on that particular business. I just left one of the restaurants here locally that serve alcohol. No security guards there. And if I chose to drink a glass of wine, that could definitely alter my ability to be coherent. When you go to an actual dispensary, you are actually going to the dispensary like an actual pharmacy, picking up your medical cannabis. Within the statute, we say that you cannot consume that nowhere but home. You can't even go to a local park because that will be considered, criminal at that point. So there are things within the statute that protect. I did look at the Facebook post that Alderman Dupree mentioned, And that was not medical cannabis, that was recreation. The state of Mississippi has not legalized recreational marijuana within the state. However, we have legalized medical cannabis to be able to be distributed through our dispensaries, requiring it to go through the proper channels. The other thing that I would say to the city of Horn Lake to consider is our neighboring areas that have not, I guess, adopted or opt-in is the correct language, that have not opted in. Those cities have not opted in, and of course, every board has their own discretion to do whatever the board sees fit to do. But when you decide to opt in, you're able to do your zoning as you please, ordinance also. The issue within the ordinance for, I think, Zach Hemp is the dispensary not being able to sustain itself because of the financial burden. That's the plea, the financial burden for the security guard and the financial burden for the hours of operation not being able, I think he mentioned holidays and not open on Sundays, whereas your neighboring cities like Hernando allow these things. I'm not saying Horn Lake has to be Hernando because they both start with the letter H. I'm not suggesting that at all. I'm just, again, here asking the board to really consider the extent of this new area that can seem to be gray, but what the legislative intent has tried to do is make it as colorful as possible so that the intent is clear as to the state objective of what medical cannabis is used for, who's able to receive it, and how individuals are able to obtain it. You have to have an actual medical license. So with that medical license, to be able to get it, just because I am, and I'm not trying to invalidate the competence of a security guard that's licensed, bonded, by no means. But security guards on a premises are not looking at those licenses, checking those licenses to see if individuals have a license or not. It's according to the state directions for operation, the actual dispensary has to have a clerk there to check the license, not the security guard. And for those of you all that were able to go to the dispensary, you were able to see that they can't even go past the lobby area without showing that particular license and getting where the actual product is. These are some things that I just want to stand in support of Zach Hemp with, and to also, again, support the legislative intent on the purpose and why, as a state, we even chose to make medical cannabis legal within the state. I'll yield and entertain any questions, any feedback, if there be any.
Alderman Geis.
The purpose, at least from my standpoint on the security guard, wasn't to check the customers coming in. It was two things. A lot of these businesses are cash-only businesses. It was for protection of the employees of that store. We occasionally have crime down through here. We're bordering a high crime area, and the concern was large amounts of cash and medical marijuana. Somebody come in there and rob the place, and the money is a concern, and the marijuana, but the main thing is the safety of the employees and other clients that were in there. That was the purpose of that. And it's still a concern of mine, from my years in law enforcement. We had a robbery a few weeks ago of the bank right across the street from the police department. So once word gets out that that's there and that there's money in there, that we could have a problem. And that was the purpose of the security guard. We never thought they would be checking IDs or doing anything like that. As far as the hours and stuff, that was a starting point. That even getting medical marijuana here and opting in was a negotiation. I think I mentioned that to the owner of this facility before. And the idea was to get started at a start point, go back and evaluate it and see if we could expand it out. So, as an alderman, I'm more than willing to discuss, adding the other days of the week, things like that, actually selling the paraphernalia that goes along with the medical marijuana. To me, if we went in that direction and didn't get away from the safety aspect of it, his income should go up just based on those things.
I agree totally. I agree totally, and I really respect the opinion of the cash flow of the business, that it is a cash-based business, but also, like you mentioned, our banks. Do we have an ordinance in the city of Horn Lake that require the banks to have a security guard? Do we do the same thing for pawn shops?
Alderman Dupree.
Go back to where you said it was recreational. It is on the DeSoto County Medical Marijuana page. That's where it came from. Second, you asked about pawn shops. Pawn shops have people armed all the time. The employees, they carry weapons, knives, and what have you, because they're legal to do so. So they don't have to hire their security because they have security already in the business.
Banks?
What?
What about banks?
What about banks?
Yes, that have cash on hand or have the same vault systems and surveillance.
Some banks do, some banks don't.
But it's at the discretion
Right,
of the
but-
bank.
But, I mean, no disrespect, whatever. But you were fighting really hard for this.
I am.
Do you
And
have
can
an
I tell you why?
interest? Yeah, do you work for?
Can I tell you why?
Sure, go ahead.
I'll give you my interest because I have family members with narcolepsy. All right, so I push really hard for medical marijuana within the state of Mississippi. And primarily because of the fact that medical marijuana or cannabis is a legal now, according to the state of Mississippi, drug for medical purposes. So when individuals from the state of Mississippi call me as a state representative, I don't confine myself, Alderman Dupree, to just Tate and Panola counties only. If you don't know me, I've done mission work for the entire state regarding our prisons. And I don't just ask, are you from Tate County? Are you from Panola County? I'm only feeding those that are from women that are from Tate or Panola County. I'm a part of a collective body that legislatively wants what's best, like you, working collaboratively for the state of Mississippi. Do I have a financial interest in this cannabis? No, but have I represented Mr. Hansen and his father legally on issues? I have. So I know them in a professional. So when I was asked to come in support of them, I was able and willing because I know of their professional work and background, but more so than anything, it's because of the need of people that actually need it. And so when individuals like those individuals that did that Facebook post skewer the intent, I do take a stand for it.
Okay. With that being said, I'm not gonna get into a back and forth.
Yes, sir.
That's not why I'm here. But you're not here to say, hey, we need this because my family member needs it. Well, it's already here. You don't have to worry about not getting it. You are advocating for us to change our ordinances, not the sale of it. You're already going to sell it. We're already selling it. So with all due respect, no harm. Your family member needs it, and they can get it now. But That's one aisle.
Okay?
You're going down a different aisle for us to change our ordinances. There's two different things.
So what I'm saying and what I said when I stood at this podium, I'm standing to provide legislative intent. I gave you a personal reason as to why I'm so in support of it. Yes, it is here, but if a professional friend or a constituent come to you, Alderman Dupree, with all due respect and say to you, I'm at the brinks of possibly being at a point where I'm gonna have to close my business because it's not being profitable for me. Do you think you can help? Do you think you can advise me? Or do you think you could do whatever? Whether it's Como Steakhouse owner, whether it's whoever, I do believe that if you felt like you could help that individual or speak or reaffirm their business practices or ethics, you would do so. So I want that to be clear as to why I'm here and why I'm vested. I gave you several reasons. Yes, I did extend a personal reason. And yes, I did say that my family member, and yes, they can get it now. But if these dispensaries have to close, because what's true right now to Power is our licensing fees are extremely excessive. We have renewals, we have penalties, we have a lot of things that are required. The build out for those spaces required a lot. And what I'm presenting is the legislative intent even on the build out. The build out was with a strategic plan for those security purposes that were mentioned. The state of Mississippi put the requirements for the build out. You couldn't open a dispensary and say, oh, I'm just gonna have an open floor concept where everybody could go in. We made the requirements where those walls had to be separate. And that's why I'm here, just to put some perspective on the legislative intent as well to support a professional business friend that's doing something great for people that need it. Individuals are gonna find ways for the rest of our lives to go against any system that's in place. I'm not here to police that, but I do know there are things in place for individuals that get medical cards the wrong way. And that's what I'm attesting.
So you're saying the place may go under because they're hiring a security officer. Is that what you're saying?
I'm stating that the profit margin with the requirements for the state, we all believe in free enterprise. Nobody is getting into business for charitable purposes. It has to be a profitable business in order for a business to survive. We believe in free enterprise in the state of Mississippi and the United States. So what I'm attesting to you is, if I have a dispensary that's open and my operation and cost is extremely high, and this is one of the things that takes my payroll excessively high, and I can appeal because of this financial burden, I'm gonna exist. I would be more than, I don't think it would be uncommon for the person to appeal to have the possible financial burden of that security guard lifted.
I understand. When your client or your friends, I'm not sure, friends, whatever, when they come here and they got their application and they read their application, they signed their application, and in that application it says must have a security officer at the very beginning.
Yes, sir.
All right? They knew going in that they must provide a security officer. With that being said, they knew what they were getting into. It's not fair for us to change our ordinances because of your person wanting to change or them making a better profit off of not having a security officer. It's not fair to this committee who set all this up. You know, they worked months on this.
Yes, sir.
So with that being said,
So
they knew what they were getting into when they came.
And I understand that, and I'm going to respond to that if I could, please. So legislatively, we make laws every session, and we have entities to come to us every session. City of Horn Lake, for local and privates. We have businesses that come to us every legislative session for a law that we've taken months, years. Committees, hearings, et cetera, to come up with. Attorneys working in the back to draft the legislation, timelessly efforts to do it. And then when we enact those statutes and we've done our due diligence like this wonderful board, we see sometimes where people come to us and appeal. This is simply an appeal. This is not pushing the city of Horn Lake and saying, you gotta do this tonight, you gotta do this tomorrow, you can't do this, or pointing the fingers. But we have people to come to us all the time and appeal to us legislatively and say, this is affecting Entergy. This is affecting Amos Energy. This is affecting our bottom line as a business. This is affecting our roads and bridges. This is affecting the crime lab not being there. We have it all the time. So what I'm saying to you and what I'm affirming to you tonight is that this is no different from the city of Horn Lake coming to Jackson, stating their legislative goals, what they need in order for the revenue to work within the city.
Out of all the people who do the appeals, how many actually get overturned?
How many
Get overturned for the person who is appealing?
to the legislative body? A lot of them do. Like when we have individual cities and counties that come to us with their concerns or with their issues, especially when it's considered to be revenue, rural fire trucks, we take those things into strong consideration. And I'm not saying that every single one of them get appealed, but we have the right to exercise that. And I'm sure you know that as well. And I'm also certain that you know that when the individuals come and make their appeal, everybody don't always agree to do it. We listen, we give the reason, and we're able to move forward. And that's all we're wanting to just have heard tonight. Is just, again, the legislative intent of what the purpose of us legalizing medical cannabis for. I'm appealing to you based on this individual. I'm not his lobbyist. I'm not. But we have lobbyists for the city of Horn Lake that come to me in other legislatures wanting certain things. I don't ask them, well, what's in it for you for Energy? Or what's in it for you for Horn Lake? I don't do that, but I could.
Maybe you should.
Let me interrupt a minute, please. Did you say that you have a video representative?
Yes, we sent it to the clerk when we sent the packet with the objective for tonight and also with the, I guess, the operation plan that was sent to the state of Mississippi. It was sent from the Yahoo email.
Do y'all want to see it? How long is it?
It's maybe a minute. Okay, I'm
3
sorry.
minutes. Is that all right with the board? All y'all,
I'm done questioning.
man, sir? All y'all? All right, Mr. Jim or Mr. Daniel or whoever's gonna play it. Or Miss Julie?
Hey, welcome to Wise.
How are you today?
I'm doing good. How about yourself?
Good.
Need to see your license and your Mississippi medical marijuana card, please.
Thank you.
Sir?
He's going to run it through our COVA system to make sure that not only is my driver's license not expired, but also my medical card is active in the state of Mississippi.
You're good to go, man. Looks like you've got 3 units available. Come on back.
So what are we looking for today, man?
I think I'm looking for some flour.
Flower that's all this side right here, indica or sativa?
I think I'm looking for sativa.
Sativa? I have 2 very good options. I have a Pineapple Express, which is more like a cup of coffee. And then I have a Durban Poison, which is like a few shots of Mexican espresso. This stuff's strong.
Awesome. I think I'm interested in that Pineapple Express.
Yes, sir. No problem. No problem at all. Just one?
Just one.
No problem. Right over here, and I'll take care of it.
from the queue and adding me to the sale to input exactly what I'm purchasing today.
Pineapple Express is $44.99. After your taxes today, comes out to $48.14. Thank you, sir. Then I'll go here, and then I'll place the flour and his receipt in this bag. There you go, sir. Have a great day.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. Go ahead and walk you to the door. It's great to see you today, man. Have a great week.
You as well. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Thank you all so much. As you saw from the video, that build out where that has to be cased, again, that's in the legislation. They can't just have it open, accessible for you, because just pick it up, run out the store. I do thank you all so much for your time and your consideration and being very welcoming to me in the city of Horn Lake. Thank you.
Excuse me, Representative, just a moment. Number one, we thank you for coming up.
Yes, sir.
I don't know if any more of the board members have any questions or any concerns they'd like to express to you. Alderman Bostic.
Yeah, is there a reason why Mr. Todd couldn't be here this evening? Do you
He's
know?
actually here.
I would like to speak to him.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Thank you for your time,
Yes,
though,
sir.
and your
Thank
passion.
you.
Thank you,
so much.
Representative. All right, Mr. Todd. Alderman Bostic, you have the floor.
Hey, how you doing this evening?
Good, how are you?
I'm doing good. As Alderman Freed stated a few moments ago, we had a committee that put all this together. It was approved back in March of '23, and numerous months. You came before us before
Yes, sir.
requesting to extend your hours.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so by extending your hours, you knew you had to have security guards, so that made it, you had more money you had to spend, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so now to offset that, you came to us 2 weeks ago wanting us to talk about you selling paraphernalia.
Entertain the idea of it, yes, sir.
I'm sorry?
Entertain the idea of it, yes, sir.
Right, yeah, and that's when the mayor said to be put on here to where we could speak to you tonight.
Yes, sir.
So now we're trying to offset that. Now you're wanting to go back and, which I believe you came to us about wanting to be open on Sunday and holidays, and we didn't agree with that, right?
Yes, sir.
So within a year's time, you've come to us, this is what, the third or fourth time?
Third, I believe.
Third time? And one as just citizens' remarks, whatever, anyway. Not any disrespect whatsoever. I've been in business all my life. I know a person, and they know who this board knows who was talking about, decided to open a business in 2020 because of COVID. We sat down, we figured out the expenses. What's the bottom line? This is the percentage of the bottom line you have to make. If we can't make this bottom line, this is not going to work. That person's still in business from 2020, making that bottom line percentage that we needed. You knew when you signed up to get into this business that it was going to be a venture that you had never been in before. But bottom line is, if you've been in business, you understand you've got to make a certain amount of profit to make a living.
Yes, sir.
We worked real hard on this, and we have our reasons for why we do and what we did here in passing this ordinance.
Yes, sir.
It would shock me that anybody on this board would sway any other way other than entertain the idea of you selling your own paraphernalia. There's other ways that you can cut the money down. You don't have to be open till 10 o'clock at night. You can have set hours from 8 to 5, 8 to 6. That security guard's there for a reason. I think there's things that you need to learn to how to make a profit. You've got to do things on your end other than coming back and trying to change rules to go your way to make more money. There's ways that you're going to learn in the business that if, as you go along, the expenses are high, you got to make cuts somewhere. And there are times, numerous times in American history, businesses fail every day. We open the door, the product's there, the hours you decide to do, that's up, within that 10 to 10, if you want to cut the 7 to 10 or whatever it is, if you need to cut those down, I think you need to make an effort on your part, because we worked real hard to make this happen for the city of Horn Lake and for people that need it. And I'm going to stand by the ordinance that we stated here. I just want to make sure I was clear on that, okay?
Absolutely. Can I respond to that? by chance?
Yes, sir. You have the floor, Mr. Todd. Could you speak up or get closer to the mic, please?
That
Thank you.
better, Mayor? We have made a couple of different changes into how we operate. That may be, unfortunately cutting back on employees' hours, how many hours we have, included into the store of overlap between certain employees. I mean, we have made, in my opinion, substantial changes to try to avoid having to come back and ask for certain amendments to be made.
Does anyone else have any, Alderman Young?
How you doing, man?
I'm good, how are you?
Good. Couple of things. I read your presentation here quite thoroughly. These are your rules, right?
Sir?
This is what you want your rules to be.
That's our operational plan.
Right. Much as what you're wanting us to change is our operational plan.
Yes, sir.
Business does have a risk, much as Mr. Bostic has said, and I know you understand that, and that's why you're here. I do have some concerns, you being here 3 or 4 times, wanting me to change what I think is best for the city of Horn Lake. I do believe that there is a need for your product. That's why you're here. Because I'll promise you, just in total transparency, I was totally against it. There are members in this room, and there are other people that are out in that watching TV or whatever, that do require this, okay? And I understand that, and I feel for them, and I hate that they do require it. A couple of things I'd like to ask you. You ever been to a hospital?
I have, yes, sir.
You ever been in an ER?
I have.
What's one of the first things you see in the ER?
Usually a
security
security
guard.
officer
Why do you think he's there?
to make sure that everybody's safe.
Same reason he's in your office. You do have a window that is bulletproof. That wall's not.
We could make it.
The wall's not gonna matter. You're gonna have a security guard if it's up to my vote. Medical office, the same thing. You go over to Campbell Clinic or the Women's Clinic or any of that, one of the first things you see when you walk in there is a security guard. Because we do not live in the days just 30 or 40 years ago. This is the new world for this city. This is a new world for this state. And if you think that being this close to Memphis doesn't have an adverse effect to your business, that your people could actually be a victim, that's why that security guard is there. We need to look at this on the other side. If you need to adjust your prices, such as Kroger does or somebody, then that's something you need to do as a business owner or your partners or whatever. Holidays and Sundays. If you open holidays and Sundays right now, just as Mr. Bostic said, you're going to have to pay that security guard. You may want to consider that. Okay? You said something in this packet, which, I mean, it's well put together. You need a comma in a couple of places, but other than that, I ain't worried about, I ain't a wordsmith, believe me. If I can catch it, it's something. Paraphernalia. How many people do you feel, and this is just a general question, I'm not asking for a percentage, how many people walk into your businesses that you feel don't have a delivery device for your product?
Believe it or not, more than the average person would
So
think.
they're coming to yours with a license, they go to get a license from a doctor.
Yes, sir.
They come to you. Oh, and that was interesting in your video, it didn't show the security guard checking their license, as you said, so that's pretty. So how many, so they come to get your product and they walk out and they go and they get a Coca-Cola can and poke holes in it. Is that what they do?
No, sir.
Or do they have a bong at home or papers or?
Some people do, yes, sir.
I'm gonna tell you 100% of them do. And if you're honest with yourself and honest with this board, that's what you would have told me.
I wouldn't necessarily say that.
I guarantee you I can stand out in front of your place and there's everybody who don't have a way to smoke that pot. And not a one of them will say, oh, I can do that.
Can I respond?
Sure.
We're just asking for the ability to provide not only higher quality, but also the experience and knowledge on the best ways to consume their medicine.
So the only way they can have your high quality and experience your medical stuff is by buying a bong from you.
It's the only way we can guarantee that.
Well, I think it's extra profit. Because you're gonna sell those, aren't you?
Yes, sir.
It's not a valid argument with me, because I do believe, and if everybody in this room would be honest with themselves, when I smoked it, which I did, long time ago, I'm an old son of a gun, we had delivery devices. That was the first thing we made sure, because we didn't want to spend a dime and not be able to have a delivery device. So I guarantee you they're not coming into your business, whether you believe it or not, without a delivery device. So if we was to approve your paraphernalia, would you only sell paraphernalia to people that had a medical license?
Absolutely.
To buy the product?
Yes, sir.
So if I walked in there and I said, hey, I want to buy a bong, you wouldn't sell me one?
You wouldn't get past my
How
lobby
would I know
door.
that?
Sir,
How would I know that?
that's how we operate. That's in our operational
How you
plan.
operate? So we're back to your rules again. Okay, I got you. I'm not trying to paint you in a corner. You may think that. I have visited your place a couple times. Actually, I think you're the one that gave me the tour of it, I believe. You were.
Possibly.
I don't know. It looks, you got a twin. You do run a good place. You run a great shop. It's clean. I didn't like you putting the mirrors on the front of them. That really sent me into a turmoil.
We've since had
I
that
know you
removed,
have.
yes, sir.
So I have a bit of a concern about some of your policies when you knew you couldn't have that stuff on your window, but you did it anyway. So I have a hard time believing you wouldn't sell paraphernalia to somebody that walked in there that wanted to buy a bong and you made 28% on it. You see where I'm coming from? If you're going to conduct business in the city of Horn Lake, I suggest you get on the other side of the fence on this thing. Mr. Bostic's absolutely right. Thank you, sir.
Anyone else have any questions or comments? Alderman Geis.
Chief Pullen, I got one for Chief Pullen. Did you inspect his business or go over there and look at it?
Yes, sir, I did. I've been twice to the one on Tulane and Goodman, and then yesterday I went to the one at 51 and Goodman. And I'll have probably a surprising opinion here, but I don't think that the security guard is much of a deterrent. Just based on my professional opinion and his two businesses, I think the security guard comes down to the perception of the citizen that walks into that business, and I had to ask who the security guard was. So, the security measures that they've taken, I wish every business would take it. To me, that's what's going to deter any crime from happening. And I personally just don't feel like the security guard is the one that's making it happen. So, again, just my professional opinion, but.
So you believe that the security measures in place are adequate?
Yes, sir.
Okay, also, are you aware if there have been any robberies of any marijuana dispensaries in the state?
The state, I don't know. We've not had any issues out of their dispensaries.
Okay, just not to get Mayor, not to get involved in the day-to-day, could you check on that?
Sure.
And see if there's been any? I know we're in a little bit of a different situation here where we're bordering, but I would just be curious about any robberies or burglaries of those type of businesses.
Yes, sir.
Thank
you. And just to elaborate, if I may, so I went with my major yesterday and watched the operation and how they do operate. And again, my professional opinion, just the measures that they've taken are the deterrent here, and it's I just don't believe that it is the security guard.
Thank you.
Anyone else have any questions? Alderman Bostic.
I had a question for Alderman Young. I didn't get a chance to go by there to check it out. You said you did. What were you making reference to about the mirror? Is that on the window of the front door, or?
Well, no, he had that, what do you call it?
Maybe like a reflective tint.
Front window, there was a mirror. You couldn't see inside the building, it reflected out, which is absolutely in our ordinance to say no. We have to be able, police have to be able to see in that building.
So you can't see into that building. He's already violating our ordinance and has been from day one.
No, he did not have it up there day one. He put it up there on, I don't know, let's just say a Tuesday. I saw it on a Saturday. It was gone by Monday.
Why would you do that?
That was not my decision.
You the owner?
No, sir, I'm just our general manager.
This is the owner here?
Yes, sir.
Can I answer that question?
Yeah, hold on just a minute. You need names and addresses? You already have them? Yes.
Yeah, I was just curious that when he mentioned that, I was like, wait a minute, it's stated right here in our ordinance that you can't have that on a window. I guess you get the blunt of everything, so I'm sorry about that, man. We just went a little deeper there. Sure.
I think Mr. Hemp wants to say something. Evening, sir.
How y'all doing? So we actually hired the company to do it, thinking it's gonna be clear. And then when they installed, we thought it's gonna be more clear. But when they installed it, we saw it has a reflection, like a mirror reflection, and we automatically called them, had them come remove it right away. That's what happened. We were doing it just to better protection for the glass. In case somebody decides to break in, it'll be like, it's more like the glass, it'll kind of be like, in case somebody trying to break in, it's like it prevents it from just shattering the whole glass, and it holds everything together. But when we saw it was given that reflection, automatically we called them, told them, please, if you don't mind, come back and tear it up.
So it was only up for a couple of days.
Just a couple of days, and we took it out.
Alderman Boston? Anyone else? Alderman Johnson?
Unfortunately, I have not been able to visit, so the video did provide some very good intel for me to see. Although I don't have a medical need for cannabis at this time, I do have family members who will definitely benefit from, your business. I want to know how many employees you have.
Right now, we have 2 per location.
2 per location, okay. So how is business, if you could say?
Given the time of year, everybody's kind of waiting on their tax returns, stuff like that. It's a little bit slower. And, there are other deciding factors outside of just time of the year. There was, quote unquote, an administrative hold on a lot of products earlier on, late last year, early January, that's finally starting to build off of that. But it's manageable.
Thank you.
Is anyone else? Alderman Young?
Just real quick. I hope your business does well.
I appreciate that.
I really do. And, we did try to carve out an area for y'all. We didn't want it wide. For Horn Lake doesn't need 18 of these things. You think it's tough now. If you had another 3 or 4, it'd really be tough.
Yes, sir.
I just would really, I hope you understand where we're coming from. I don't think there's anybody here that doesn't really believe that it's needed. Okay? I just think we believe a little different in how it should be dispensed and the way that we want it done in our municipality. I actually believe that as this process moves forward, what this board has decided to put in place in Horn Lake will probably be the status quo from Tennessee to the Gulf Coast. Because, let me just say this, because there's everybody up here for people that live in Horn Lake. I don't know where they come from Tennessee, or they come from Arkansas, or they come from wherever. I don't know how that works. I don't know. But if somebody's in your store behind that wall, and Knucklehead Dave decides to come in, I'm going to rob a dispensary. It happens in liquor stores all the time. somebody gets shot in your store and they find out that you argued against having a security guard, and that happened, you think business is tough now, try it in an orange suit. You will be liable. You need to really reconsider your position on this and adjust your business model. That's where I would go, and quit trying to come to us and expect us to lower our standards, because in my world, I don't think they're tough enough. But I get the concept, and people do need this. Just need to be real careful what you ask for. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Mayor.
Alderman Klein.
Mr. Todd, how you doing, sir?
Good, how are you?
I was able to, make it by, and I think you gave me the grand tour, and you do run a pretty tight ship there.
I appreciate that.
Chief, I wanted to verify exactly what you said for our security, because when I went in, I didn't even realize the guy sitting in that chair was a security guard. I mean, Mr. Todd had to point out, well, that's our security person. So him just sitting there wouldn't deter me, because I didn't even know he was a security guard. But you having that gun on your hip inside, wasn't it you that was packing, or was it the other gentleman?
It was the other gentleman.
Okay. I mean, that, he was carrying too, so. And I don't know, I'm pro-business, and in seeing that, and security, as long as you got somebody in that business that can secure it, if it's the manager or whatever, I wouldn't have a problem with it as long as I know that it's being secured. But there's got to be a way of identifying that we got a security guard out there, because to me, it's just, there's where we're, I think it was having a downfall there. But everything else, as far as additional days and the paraphernalia, and as long as we know that there's nobody going to come in there that, unless they got a medical card, that can buy it, but there again, this is brand new to all of us. And I think, it's just really early in the game. We need to let it unfold and see. Now, I think you mentioned that Hernando and Olive Branch, they don't have security guards.
They don't require them, no, sir.
And they have longer hours also in holidays?
Yes, sir, we're able to be open on Sundays as well as some major national holidays.
So did they have to go before the boards there and get times changed, or they just didn't have the stringent rules or ordinances that we put together, which?
They didn't put forth any additional ordinance outside of what the state requires.
What the state?
I think they didn't opt in or out, they just didn't do anything in the
I got you.
Yeah, we opted out.
Right.
So if you didn't opt out, you were automatically opted in when the deadline passed.
Under the state.
Well, you could still adopt your own ordinance, you still have that ability, and I don't know if you did or not.
Okay. Well, I kind of lean towards what Alderman Geis had said in regards to, the hours and the paraphernalia of something. But the safety of your business and the people that are coming in there is number one. Thank you.
Anyone else? Did you have anything else, Mr. Todd?
No, sir.
Well, Mr. Todd and Mr. Kemp have asked several things of the board, changing hours, removing the requirement for a security guard, being able to sell paraphernalia. What was the other one? Sir? That was it? So that being the case, there's no more discussion. Do we have any type of motion?
Mayor, I make the motion to deny both.
We have a motion by Alderman Dupree. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Alderman Young. Is there any discussion? Roll call, please, Miss Julie.
Alderman Young.
Aye.
Alderman Dupree.
Aye.
Alderman Johnson.
Nay.
Alderman Boston.
Before I vote, I had a question. What, you said to deny everything that he was asking for?
It was the, security guard and paraphernalia.
Well, he was wanting to be open on Sunday and holidays too.
Yeah.
I'll let it off. Two things.
Three.
It's three.
So your motion is to deny all.
All right, let me go back and say the hours.
Because I know we were gonna discuss about the paraphernalia.
Yeah, it was,
Because I think it needs to be the motion of separate things, because some of us may think different about what things that he wants to do.
okay, Mr. Mayor, I rescind my motion.
All right, Alderman Young,
My second doesn't stand.
you rescind your vote? All right. Now, Alderman Dupree, would you like to make a motion on all or any part of this?
Yes. For the security officer, I move to deny removing the security officer.
Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion by Alderman Dupree, a second by Alderman Young. Any discussion? The motion was to keep the requirement for maintaining a security guard during business hours. Roll call, please, Ms. Julie.
Alderman Young.
Aye.
Alderman Dupree.
Aye.
Alderman Johnson.
Aye.
Alderman Boston.
Aye.
Alderman Guy.
Aye.
Alderman Bledsoe. Alderman Klein.
Aye.
Motion carries 7 in favor, none opposed. All right, let's get on down to the second part, paraphernalia. Is there any type of motion dealing with his request?
Mayor,
Alderman Young.
I make the motion that we not allow the sale of paraphernalia at any drug dispensaries in the city of Horn Lake.
We have a motion by Alderman Young. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Alderman Bledsoe. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Alderman Klein.
Aye.
Alderman Bledsoe.
Aye.
Alderman Guy.
Nay.
Alderman Boston.
Aye.
Alderman Johnson.
Nay.
Alderman Dupree.
Aye.
Alderman Young.
Aye.
Motion carries 5 in favor, 2 opposed. And let's see, third part of that would be about being opening on Sunday and holidays. Is there any type of motion dealing with this request?
Mayor,
Alderman Young.
I make a motion that they be denied to open up on Sunday and holidays as written in the original ordinance.
We have a motion by Alderman Young. Do we have a second?
I'll second that, Mayor.
We have a motion by Alderman Young, a second by Alderman Bostic. Is there any discussion? Roll call, please.
Alderman Young.
Aye.
Alderman Dupree.
Aye.
Alderman Johnson.
Nay.
Alderman Boston.
Aye.
Alderman Guy.
Nay.
Alderman Dupree. Bledsoe, I'm sorry. And Alderman Klein.
Nay.
Motion carries 4 in favor, 3 opposed. I think that took care of it, Mr. Todd. Thank you for your time.
Thank you all.
Appreciate it. Okay, we've gone through A, B, and C on a special guest and presentation. Now we have Mr. Dale Wilson. Please, sir. You don't need Mr. Dale's address, do you? Good evening, Mr. Dale.
I agree. Well, first of all, congratulations. I mean, this is the first time I've been here. I mean, the decor and all the equipment works, and I can hear it, and the wallpaper is fantastic, and congratulations. I mean, I think I'm going to move in.
Well, thank you.
So I just have a few points to kind of make of sometimes I got things going on that I think y'all need to be aware of and where my company's headed, and I think it's beneficial. I'm just going to hit a few points, and I'll take any questions. But as the mayor knows, we've made some diligent efforts to talk about Pepper Chase and Nail Road. I had some successful conversations with the South Haven alderman, and to my surprise, they were extremely positive. Now, I don't want to go past that. That doesn't mean anything. That means that they listened to me and responded, but they responded well. Now, here was the most interesting thing about this Nail Road pepper chase I have been working on for years. And just by calling and visiting with them on the phone, can you hear me? Okay. Just by talking to them, there was one thread that ran through every alderman, and I was shocked. I mean, it's just like, did they go to school to learn this together? And here it is. They claimed that their opposition was that they didn't want a truck stop, a full-blown, huge truck stop in Horn Lake to bring truck traffic onto Pepper Chase. Number one response from every single one. I cleared that up. They have been sent memos that, no, it's never been true, and they were confused with the convenience store that was proposed, which doesn't have diesel fuel specialty pumps. So we cleared that up. So I can't say a lot more, but I think there's hope now. So I wanted to just tell y'all that. And so I was excited about that. All right, enough about that. Just wanted to mention that Market 55, we have 2 buildings built, and they're both leased. And the odd part is one of them is from New York. So how do you get from New York to Horn Lake? I have no idea, but he's here. And he's open, and the other gentleman is about to open. We're about to build 2 new buildings. I really see this corridor as being something brand new. I think it's just lots of opportunity. We already have requests for rentals in the other 2 buildings. We're not there yet, but we're going to get there. But I want y'all to just envision with me just a minute about what the vision is there. Both sides of the street, from Highway 51 to Interstate Boulevard, there'll be 24 buildings. They'll all be very similar in design, with some special treatments of some decor and some special signage. I've never seen one like this. We just dreamed it up and thought it was a great idea. And part of the playbook was looking at Dancy Boulevard, and everybody had an idea there. Unfortunately, most were bad. So I think you're going to see something really unique. I think it's going to bring some attention to Horn Lake, and we're not selling any of them because we would lose control. And so we have very strict rules and regulations what can and can't happen. So enough about that. I just wanted to tell y'all about that. The other thing is, in the event that we get Pepper Chase and Nail Road hooked up, this is just a thought, the trailer park that's in South Haven that touches the border of Horn Lake, we may need to consider extensive fencing through there to block some of it. For example, I do have an international company that's looking to locate along I-55. So why do they want to come to I-55? It's like the only stretch that they can have extreme highway interstate visibility. So we're talking to them now. So obviously they says, call me back when the road's in. I says, I will. So, and we've had another request over there, interstate visibility. So those are really positive things for Horn Lake, and I think some good things are going to happen over there. It's kind of a renewal of the area. So I just wanted to bring that up. Lights on Nail Road, I did, as we toured some of these new people through there, they asked about, you know, what about the lighting in Horn Lake? And I told them that the city was working on it. And so I just think that the lighting would help immensely. I think it's very simple, modern lighting, just LED and just stem lighting, and I think that would be great if y'all would consider that. Last thing, the only other comment I have is many years ago when they put the road in, the developers late one night came over there, and the road had already been ready to blacktop, and it had been soil cemented and everything was great. So for some strange reason, they decided to go plow it up and put a pipe extension to the other side. So that's the reason we have those dips and hollows. So there's a pipe that was run through the company that put the rode together and all told them that eventually we're going to have a problem. We do have a problem. So if there's any way the cities would start considering just a repair of that, and I don't know how many there are, but maybe 10 or 15 if they were cut, salt cemented, and maybe CR 610 and then asphalt, I think that would cure that problem. But you really do go up and down, and sometimes some of that fast traffic, I see people's heads kind of bobbing up. That's all I've got, and I'll entertain any questions.
Does anyone have any questions for Mr. Dale? Alderman Dupree.
Mr. Dale, thank you for talking to South Haven about that. I spoke to a couple of the aldermen, and they did not convey that to me. It was different reasons. So thank you for clearing that up, and thank you for what you do for our city.
Absolutely. I hope that we can work out this situation. I did talk to some of the supervisors, and they're 100% for it.
Anyone else have any? Alderman Bledsoe.
About the lights down through there, I think, he went down there, I think they got some lights, but it might not be LED, so we might work on changing those, or, I don't know. That's.
The new road that was put in, those are all LED. That has all LED lighting down through it on the brand new road they just did.
That's
I
right.
think you're more talking about the road, the existing road.
That's right.
The lighting.
Yes.
Anyone
So
else?
Do we need to change what's down there to LED or not?
There's not any there.
The new road going towards the expressway.
Yeah, the new road has LED lighting.
They do?
They're perfect.
Okay.
Anyone else? Mr. Dale, thank you for informing
Thank you
the
for
board,
hearing.
keeping us up to date. Thank you for
Thank
bringing
you.
all those wonderful developments and companies and jobs and taxes into Horn Lake.
Thank you. Last statement. Chick-fil-A's on the borderline of breaking dirt. They got a couple more little things to take care of. We're helping them with the curb cut. We've helped them all the way through. And this is going to be a model store. Over 100 parking spaces.
It's amazing. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Alderman Johnson.
Mr. Wilson.
Yes.
I want to also co-sign what Mayor has said. Thank you for being such a great businessman, bringing such quality businesses to our city. Everything is always so upscale, such a fine taste. Thank you so much for doing that.
Thank you.
Mayor.
I hate to tell you, I was an art major. My dad hated it. He wouldn't finance my way through school.
Alderman Geis.
I have one question. I keep getting asked when Whataburger is opening.
I don't know. They had some major electrical problems there. They had to cut up some of the asphalt. They've had the final coat of pavement on now. So I don't know. Hopefully soon. I'm ready to have one.
Any questions for Mr. Dale before he leaves?
Oh, Mayor,
Alderman Bledsoe.
I just want to make him come back. I think it was his son-in-law had all these ideas.
I think you're right.
Thank you, Mr. Wilson. Does everybody want to take about a 10-minute break? Okay, we're going to take a 10-minute break, folks. Thank you all for letting us have a little breather there. I really appreciate it. All right, next is letter E under number 4, the Path Group, Mr. William Franklin. You're not Mr. Franklin.
No, Mayor, I was just gonna kind of introduce everything. The next two, as you know, a couple months ago, we had started talking about streetlights and ways the city could save our taxpayer dollars. And actually, it's been a couple years. William and I, a couple years ago, we talked about this, and I kind of wanted to see how some of the other cities, and I know Senatobia and possibly Tupelo, and Mr. William may speak more about that, but the board did want to see this information, and they did a feasibility study, which did not cost the city any money. They did this feasibility study to show what we could potentially save in converting all of our streetlights, and then, you know, future, I wish Mr. Dale had stuck around, because any streets that we're going to put up new lights, it also goes into that, talking about new poles, new lights, and what they can offer. So I was going to let Mr. William Franklin present this. This is what you as the board wanted to hear, and then we can go from there.
Mr. Robinson, before just a moment, I did get in touch with Mayor Dulaney of Tunica, and they haven't made a decision yet. I was hoping that they had it and we'd get some more information, but he said their board had not made a decision yet. Thank you, Mr. Robinson.
Yes.
Mr. Franklin.
Yes, sir.
How are you, sir?
I'm
Welcome.
good, Mayor. How are you? Good to see you again.
Fine, good to see you.
Yes, sir.
Ms. Julie, do you need any information? Thank you, ma'am. Yes, sir.
Awesome.
We turn it over to you, Mr. Franklin.
Thank you very much, Mayor. Board, thank you all for the time tonight. Again, my name is William Franklin. I'm with Path Company. I'm out of our Memphis, Tennessee office, and it's a pleasure being here with you tonight to talk to you a little bit about some of the work we're doing with some of the surrounding communities and the opportunity that I think is present for the city of Horn Lake through its streetlight infrastructure that exists today. If I could get you to go to the next slide. Quick background here on Path Company. We were founded in 2017. Founded in Jackson, Mississippi. Nathan Wells is one of the founders of our company. Nathan was chief of staff to Speaker Philip Gunn for 8 years. Prior to starting Path, he and a guy named Russ Phillips started Path. I was actually Russ's banker back in the day. Long story short, we've grown quite a bit since we were founded in 2017. We now have offices in Nashville, Birmingham, Atlanta, San Antonio. Not added on this list are also Knoxville and Baton Rouge, Louisiana. We are a full-service ESCO, which is an energy services company. I'm not sure if you're familiar with that term or not, but we are part of a group of companies that works inside of the ESCO industry, whereby we serve public entities who utilize taxpayer dollars. We aim to improve facilities. We operate in the state under MDA. In the state of Tennessee, we operate under a different organization across those states where our offices are. This is a state-regulated industry. Everything we do, we have to stand by our price firmly, and we have to guarantee the performance of our project. So if we tell you that it is going to save X dollars, it has to save X dollars, or else we write you a check for the history of the project. Usually that history, by the way, is 20 years. We are Department of Energy certified. We are NAESCO certified, which is just a national association of ESCOs. You can't just start an ESCO and become NAESCO certified. You have to submit measurement and verification criteria to them over a period of years. That's something that we're very proud of. That bullet point on there that speaks to the TVA service area, I want to point that out, and I want to tell you why that's important, because I know some of you are going to go, hey, well, hold on, we're not in the TVA service area. We are, at this point, the most experienced firm inside of the TVA service area. We've done, at this point in time, more projects than all of our competitors combined. That fact is still true for the state of Mississippi as well, outside of the TVA service area. And why that's important for you guys is because years ago, Mayor referenced the town of Tunica. Mayor Chuck Carricker was the mayor there at the time. He raised his hand and he started asking us questions, being in Memphis. He said, why is it that you guys in Memphis can undertake these projects and we in Mississippi cannot? And we explained to him the dynamics that are different between TVA, right, in the regulated area there, and in Entergy, Mississippi, of course, who's your utility provider. Chuck, I will give him, Mayor Carricker, I'll give him some credit. He didn't just take that and stop. Chuck went to the Public Service Commission and he had them change some laws. And Entergy, I will say, was a great partner in this. And they agreed to allow cities to undertake these projects in the same manner that those just north of you in the TVA area can do, and then just to the west of you across the river in Entergy, Arkansas, can also undertake. Up until this point, nobody in the state of Mississippi could undertake these projects, okay? And again, to this point, just that bottom figure, we have over 102,000 streetlights under contract. A big one, if you can't read the small numbers, is that Nashville project. We're currently converting all the lights in the city of Nashville, which is a project we're quite proud of. Jim spoke about a project in Senatobia. I wanted to use this kind of as let's just use it as a proxy for the time being. The city of Senatobia asked us a couple years back to come and help them with some interchange lighting on I-55 at the 740 interchange, which is the southernmost interchange there in Senatobia. The lights there were historically underperforming and causing them a tremendous amount of headaches. We put some figures to upgrading that infrastructure. It unfortunately came back more expensive than what they thought. And we went to them and said, do you know that if you convert your streetlights, you can actually save enough money through the streetlight conversion project to pay for the interchange lighting? They said we had no idea. That's what we then did. As you can see in these stats that I've listed here, their pre-project annual streetlight bill was right at $200,000. After the project was complete, that dropped all the way down to $66,000. So gross savings of $130,000 a year starting immediately. The city of Senatobia decided to take full ownership over their fixtures, so now they have full rights to move those fixtures, to change those fixtures, the appearance of them, the locations, et cetera. That real estate asset is quite valuable to some cities. Some cities don't find it valuable, but to them it was. As you can see, there was 972 fixtures there. We did it in 16 weeks. We actually decided to then use their savings to pay for some sports lighting there at Senatobia Sports Complex, which is right there off of 55. If you've ever been over there, some of those larger soccer football fields on the backside, we actually added lights there as well, utilizing the savings generated by this project. Another city that we undertook a conversion project with was the city of Columbus. This project's important for the state because it marked the first citywide streetlight conversion project ever undertaken in the state of Mississippi. Columbus Light and Water was the utility provider there, so they were not an Entergy Mississippi customer. That being said, we worked alongside Columbus Light and Water, being the utility, in the city of Columbus to do this project. You probably can't see because I can't see, and you guys are sitting closer than I am. But the pre-project bill was about $48,000, if I remember right, $45,872. Golly, I need to get my eyes checked. Post-project bill was something close to $11,000, if I remember. So these are real numbers. These aren't just numbers that I'm throwing out there. These are real, quantifiable, and again, guaranteed figures. We have a number of different projects that I'm happy to send you guys bills from, showing you guys the reality of these figures. I'm a fast talker. I do this a lot. Y'all please stop me with any questions, okay? Thank you. All of these pictures, yes, every single one of them is from the city of Columbus. These are simply just after pictures. You guys know what LED lights look like. You know about their efficacy. You know about the clean look. You know, some things have changed about LED street lights over the years. If you guys all remember when lights first came out, they were real blue in hue. Nobody likes that, us included. Lights now, you're able to control with much more effectiveness the color and the output of it. Those are kind of two independent figures. And so you guys as the city through this project would have the opportunity to customize basically your street lighting infrastructure. So if you wanted it a little bit more yellow, much like your older lights, we could do that. If you wanted it more yellow in your downtown spaces just to preserve a historic feel, and then you wanted it a little bit wider on your main thoroughfares from a public safety standpoint, these are all things that we could help you guys do as part of this project and things we would look through as part of the design process. I want to point out in the top left-hand corner, that is an incredibly well-lit road. I always make a point to say that please don't undertake this project expecting that to be the result. In Columbus, they were battling at the time some serious crime issues. And I can't use the exact words that the mayor used at the time, but he said, I want to see every single, quote, roof shingle on every house. He wanted it to be that well lit. So we, frankly, blasted the city with light. But that is what he wanted. And that, of course, impacts his savings and their savings. But that being said, it affected or impacted things the way that he wanted to. It was a crime project, crime prevention project more so than a savings project. That's, again, simple before and after, same exact street. We can just go ahead and go to the next slide. So we'll get into the city of Horn Lake. And ma'am, if you don't mind, could you zoom out just a hair just so we could see the full, there we go, thank you. All right, and I apologize on that top pie chart. When I converted this to a PDF, for some reason it messed with my number where you can't see it on the investment charge. But as you stand right now, whether you guys know it or not, the city does not own its streetlights. You guys pay Entergy Mississippi for your streetlights. In total, so net of any sort of discounts that you guys receive, you guys pay right now $246,000 a year. That fee is broken up into two different charges. One is an energy charge, very self-explanatory. You're paying for the energy used by the lights. The other is what's called an investment charge. What that is Entergy's mechanism to recoup the costs of the initial installation and the ongoing upkeep of the lights themselves. There's a formula that they use. There's a formula that every utility uses. This is not uncommon. This is not some secret way for Entergy to try to gig you. We've looked at it thoroughly. It's a very fair fee. But basically, you're paying them over time into perpetuity so that they can recoup the costs associated with their lights. If you expand upon that and push this out 20 years, right, you will see that your total streetlight expenses over the next 20 years total $6.6 million. And for those of you that are math nerds, maybe like myself, you'll notice that's not a straight line number. That inflates at 3% a year, if you wanted to know why that inflates or why that is not a straight line number. And that is true based on what we know about the last 20 years of streetlight billings in the state of Mississippi. Okay, any questions on your current streetlight bill and its makeup? Hearing none, I will move on. So, as of right now, again, we conducted this feasibility study. This was at no charge to the city. This is what I would call at risk to us, mainly because this is the first time you guys are seeing costs associated with it and savings figures. And in all of my experience, I will tell you that nobody ever likes for costs to go up or savings to go down. So we generally show costs as being high and savings as being low right now. So I'm showing a total expected project budget of $1.9 million to convert all of the lights in the city. Again, I believe that is conservative. Now, don't get me wrong, if you guys start adding a tremendous amount of lights, we could probably get up north of that. But a straight one-for-one conversion, which is what we traditionally see other cities do, might cost somewhere around $1.9 million. If you look on the far left, that's where I've broken down those utility bills, and I've shown those gross savings for the city. Again, 246 at the beginning, 66 at the end, gross savings of 180. If you use those savings of 180, and if you happened to finance the entire project, which we don't always see people do, just to be clear, Path Company plays no role in any sort of financing for the city. You guys would go through that using your traditional channels. But if you decided to finance those project costs, you could pay for the debt via the savings and still net out $36,000 a year. So that's $36,000 a year you guys can immediately spend elsewhere, right? Reallocate them to other projects. These are funds that you're already spending right now. We're literally just refinancing your utility bill, if you want to think about it that way, okay? If you look at that project budget, that budget does include the investment grade audit, which I'll go to here in a second. It includes a buyout of the existing infrastructure, okay? For those that are not aware of that buyout, if you remember, that investment charge is an ability for Entergy to recoup their costs. There's a plant value, an undepreciated plant value that remains on their books. We're going to pay them for that to retire that asset on their books. And then we're going to install new fixtures. That costs $1.9 million. You look at the gross savings of 180, you have a simple payback of 10.5 years. Okay? That is a conservative estimate at this point, is the way I would quantify that in your mind. Questions thus far? Yes, sir.
Alderman Klein.
So, all right, these lights have a 10-year warranty?
They have a 10-year warranty, which is a little bit north of industry standard. And to be clear, we don't manufacture anything. We'll use whatever lights that you guys wanted to use. We'd work with you on that. They have a 10-year warranty, 22-year rated life.
So how does that warranty work now? That's a warranty on the fixture. Let's say the light goes out. Who would be changing the lights out since?
Sure. It's a great question, absolutely. Yeah, so you would have the right to hire anybody that you wanted to change the light. You could either self-perform a replacement of that light, or we could do that. So Path Company, as part of all of these projects, offers not just the 10-year parts warranty, but we offer the 1-year project labor warranty, right? So if a fixture fails in the first year, we'll come and replace it free of charge, of course, to the city. We will handle all of the management of the warranty process through that 10-year period for you. Something I will tell you that is true across these projects at scale now is if they're going to fail, they fail quick, meaning they'll usually fail night one or at least week one. If they last past the first week, they're going to run for an extended period of time. It's what we've seen. You saw that map on the first page. Our reputation is everything to us. While we've done a lot of projects, we're still a relatively young company. And so we will work with you and stand by you as you guys go through that timeline.
So your cost is figured in, I mean, with this savings and everything, is changing out lights and that type of stuff is built in this cost?
Absolutely. That's a turnkey price. That's buyout. That's the audit, which I'll go through here in a second. That's the design. That is installation, et cetera. Bond, the whole thing.
Alderman Johnson.
Seems that you've done your homework. Do you know how many lights we have already in Horn Lake?
Yes. If you'll go back, ma'am, to the previous slide, I think it's 1528. Is that right? 1528. Yes, ma'am. That's what we're showing, by the way, on your bill. That's what Entergy says you have. I will tell you, this is no fault of Entergy's. That is never exactly right. If we'll go to 2 slides from now. This is the first step. And this is going to confirm whether it's 1528 or 1532 or 1476. We don't know. 1528 is what they're billing you for right now. Through this process, we're going to go through and audit the system. It's important that we understand what exists right now so that we can then overlay design criteria to design a system that works well for you. So we're going to go through an audit and do some data reconciliation with Entergy first. So that 1528 could move here or there. It usually doesn't move a lot, but it does move. Sure, you're very welcome. Yes, sir.
Alderman Bledsoe.
After the first 10 years of warranty, can we re-up and get another warranty for another 10 years?
Sure, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, we can always talk about that. At that point, I will tell you the math will be heavily in your favor, and so you'll have plenty of options available to you. At that point, you'll really be recouping the full amount of savings. You'll have $180,000 a year, if I remember right. Was that the gross amount? Yes, $180,000 a year. Frankly, I would just use $180,000 a year to pay to convert any lights that failed at that point, past warranty.
We did, at the park, we did Musco lighting, about $1 million.
Sure.
And it was 10 years, they did everything. And then after 10 years, we could re-up, and I don't know where it is now. So.
Yeah, Musco's great. We do a tremendous amount of sports lighting with them. They're the lights that we put in Senatobia.
Alderman Klein.
As I understand it right now, and Jim, maybe you know, I do not believe that all your park lights are showing up on Entergy's streetlight account. Now, we'll confirm it as part of this, but I don't believe that to be true. I think they're separate. I think they're billed separately outside of your streetlights. Sure. It would be. We could incorporate it into the project. And so you know, this process, right, where we're going to audit, and ma'am, if you'll go to the next slide, we're going to audit and we're going to design all this. We can take all this feedback from you guys and we can show you broken out, including different areas and excluding different areas, right? Such that you can then come to us and say, we want to do just a 1-for-1 conversion. We don't want to add anything. Adding things gets expensive. Or, hey, we'd like to convert the lights at these parks, but not these right now. We can show you that at the end. What does it cost and what does it save is the goal. Sure. Yes, sir.
Alderman Bledsoe.
Can you give us a separate thing for the park and say, hey, this is what it's going to be? Because at one time when we built the park, Mississippi Fire Light was paying.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know when it changed, but anyway, we were paying him X number or whatever.
Right. We'll show you it broken out, absolutely, by area.
Mayor,
Alderman Young.
how you doing, man?
Doing well. How are you? Good.
Couple of questions that people always, we need more street lights, we need more street lights. 4,400 sounds like a lot of street lights, but it's really not for a city this size.
That 4,400 number, that was from the city of Brentwood. That was just a map showing their city. You guys have 1528. You have 1,528.
No wonder it seems like it's not enough.
That's right, yeah.
Okay.
Sorry, I just want to make sure the record was clear.
That explains what, so that even,
Yeah.
that even intensifies my question here.
Yes, sir.
I understand that these lights are brighter.
Can be.
And they provide more illumination than regular lights that we have now. But if we come up and we have a section, and how difficult is it to install a new light? Like if you have one there and you have one here and you want one right here, how difficult is that process?
Generally, it's not that difficult, assuming that there are poles present. When you get into adding poles, poles are expensive. If there's a pole present, adding an arm and adding a light is not all that difficult. Now, it's going to require coordination with Entergy, most likely, because the poles will remain theirs if it's a shared infrastructure pole. That being said, we've worked through it with other cities, and I had lunch today down in Jackson with Entergy, where we're constantly working through issues like this.
Okay, so that brings up to me, you said Energy's still gonna be responsible for the poles.
Yes, sir.
You're just gonna provide the light to the poles. So that means Energy's bringing the power to the pole.
Correct.
You're just providing the illumination.
Correct. Now, that does change a little bit, and this is going to get it confusing. When you have a standalone decorative pole, right, like a post-top fixture, you guys can picture those, you guys will own outright that. You'll own the infrastructure associated with that. When you have poles on maybe some of your larger roads where wires are running between them, that's what we'll call a shared infrastructure pole. It is not in your best interest to own those for a number of reasons. You have a lot of coordination with telecoms, et cetera. When those get knocked down, I can promise you don't want that headache. Those are going to remain property of Entergy. You're simply going to own the mast arm and the fixture itself.
Excuse me just a moment.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Excuse me just a moment. Hey, Chief Pullen, you got a bunch of people out there, and I don't know if they understand English. You might want to check with them if you would, please. Excuse me, gentlemen, thank you.
That's fine, no problem, sir. This brings up another, bless you.
Excuse me.
Keep that up, you're gonna blow something out your knee. Responsiveness to an outage, and I understand that Energy has the power and Energy has the pole. We're just talking about your fixture at this point. If it comes down to where 30 fixtures go out of whatever reason, okay, how responsive are y'all to replacing those? I mean, is it going to be a month? Is it going to be a lot of red tape? Is it going to have to be me getting upset and screaming and hollering?
No, it's a good question.
Believe me, you don't want that one.
It's a fair question. I know I don't want that one, I promise you. What I will tell you is, as part of this, you guys have the ability to hire anybody, PATH or otherwise. What we're asking for basically is to undertake the conversion project, right? We will gladly, don't get me wrong, sign on for service contract. However, you have the ability to hire anybody. Right now, we hire and we subcontract out to B&B Electric. I don't know if y'all know, okay. B&B does the maintenance work for Entergy. They do our maintenance work. It's the same crews, and we did that, frankly, to make it easy for us and Entergy. When a pole goes down and you guys own the light and Entergy owns the pole, we all just agree. B&B goes and fixes it, and then we all figure out who pays for what after. Okay, that's how it works. So
You said B&B because they are really good.
they are. They've done great work.
Two last questions, and I'll show you. You said it's 36,000 per year savings. Is that what you anticipate?
Net, yes, sir.
Okay, so if you go low into that, that's still fine. Are you, is PATH, would y'all have a problem with us going out and applying for bids and get other bids from other companies against your product?
Sure. No. So the next step of this is not for you guys to say, PATH, go convert our lights. Okay. It is to actually issue an RFQ. Okay. That is required by state law, so that other respondents can respond. You will get other responses, and I hope that you go through them, and I hope you interview others. Okay. I am very confident in our ability to compete with those around us. But the RFQ process is the next step, which costs you a newspaper ad.
Thank you.
Sure.
Make sure we're all on the same page.
Absolutely. Yeah. And that RFQ, just so you know, is under state code statute, I'm going to get this right, 31714. So you guys are actually going out for RFQ, not RFP, right? And so it's a little bit different, but you understand the process. Yes, sir.
Pro Temp, got a question? I'm just thinking about the savings that we could have. Well, with these savings, we could actually add street lights to like Nell Road, and some of our subdivisions desperately need more street lights. So with that savings, I think we can, add these extra street lights for safety reasons at least.
It's very common use of the savings, is to add more lights. You usually consult with law enforcement through that process they'll usually know where you need more light. And so they also usually have a pretty extensive list, and a lot of times we have to pick and choose, but we'll do that as part of this process.
We've already got our streets.
Understood.
We know where they need to go.
Understood. Yes, sir.
Alderman Bledsoe.
In your contract, when you put, say a light goes out, you're notified, you have X number of days to get that light fixed.
Absolutely.
If the pole's broke, you got X number of days once they get the pole back up.
Absolutely.
That's gonna be in your contract.
Absolutely. Well, and to be clear, the installation contract is just for the conversion. An ongoing service contract, you would absolutely stipulate that. And I would encourage you guys to compress it a little bit compared to what you have right now. Absolutely. Any more questions thus far? I'm going to point out a couple things on this slide too, because this is important. This lets you know a little bit about the robustness of our process. Once we go to RFQ, let's say you guys are so impressed by us and our team, you guys say we want to undertake this project. The next step is not to release us to go convert a light. We're going to do our investment grade audit, right? So top left-hand quarter, that's a photometric analysis of an intersection. I forget if that's in Columbia, Tennessee, or where that one's from. But we're actually going to run photometrics such that we will be able to identify what is the right light for each individual streetlight location, okay? Over on the right, that's just a bunch of dots is all you're really seeing. But each one of those dots, when you click it to the bottom left, would show you this information. So we're not just trying to tell where every light is, but what is the height, what's the arm angle, what's the presence of a sidewalk, lack thereof, is there a turn lane, et cetera. Because the light that goes at one location is not the light that should go at every other location if it's the same type of street, right? And so we're trying to create typicals so that we use the right light in the right location. Bottom right is, that's a drone photo back when I was allowed to fly a drone. Anyway, that is some mock-ups in Columbia, Tennessee, I know. And you may not be able to tell on the screen, but you can obviously tell the difference between the old light, the yellow kind of glow in the middle, and the LED light both to the north and to the west. The lights to the north and to the west are actually two drastically different colors, if you may or may not be able to tell. The one to the north is blue, the one off to the far left is a little bit whiter. These are things that we're going to do so that you guys can see them, and more importantly, so that the residents can see them. Because I promise you, that decision right there impacts the economics of the project not one bit until you got to go change them back out because the residents are not happy. So we want to make sure we go through that process so that we collect resident feedback and everybody's on the same page before we place a big order for a bunch of fixtures. Okay? Next slide, please. Next steps, the end. So I got my state code statute right. That's good. So again, going to RFQ is the next step of this process. That is, I guess, the request tonight is that you guys consider doing that. After that, we would then move into that investment grade audit, which does typically take 4 to 6 months. I predict it could move a little quicker than that. At that point, we would come back, and whereas I told you I think it costs $1.96 million, it'll come back at hopefully 1.87, and the savings will come up. That's the goal of this process. Okay, and at that point, then you guys would choose to authorize us moving forward with the project. That concludes my presentation.
Anyone have any questions? Alderman Bostic.
I'm just excited. I just want to let you know.
You and me both, man. Let's go.
I was sworn in July the 16th of 2019, and one of my first emails to the Public Works Director and our engineer Vince that's sitting down here was, we need lights on Nell Road Extended, which is a road that we're working on that Mr. Wilson spoke about tonight.
Sure.
They built a road and we didn't put lights there. That's in my ward. It's been like that for, 10 years now? Anyway.
Please.
And that was one of my focuses when I got elected, was to light up. I call that the bypass. You don't have to get on Goodman Road. You can go down and bypass all that. And then in June of 22, this board approved 50 new lights of LED lights on that street, at a cost to Energy.
Right.
And we've been continued to work. Jim's been very patient with me on this, and Vince and Stephen, and I think we all want better lighting for our community. Number one, that section of town that's blowing up, we need to make sure that it's lit up for safety. And that was one of the concerns that we had of doing the the neighborhoods of the people like, well, I don't want that bright light lighting up my whole front yard,
Oh, yeah.
you know? And it's great to hear that you know, technology has gotten to where you can tone it down some and do this and do that. We just had all the brand-new lights put down Goodman Road all the way from 55 down to, I don't know if you had part of that or not, but B&B's done a lot of work for us, and I appreciate you coming out tonight to do that. I want to thank Jim for his work on this, and Vince, and I'm looking forward to getting this done, and I appreciate it very much.
Thank you very much.
Alderman Klein.
I know for a fact of one light pole that never had electricity to it. Was that in that count? Was that 1,500?
I cannot confirm or deny it yet, but I will be able to after the audit.
We might be running into some of that.
Sure.
You know, that's a hidden cost there.
It is. Absolutely.
Alderman Bledsoe.
When you replace all these lights, are you gonna pay us for the old lights?
Yes, that's a good question, actually. So we recycle the lights. So when you dispose of these old lights, there are requirements that you do so in a manner that's not just throwing the whole fixture in a landfill. You have to actually split it up and separate it and dispose them in the right way. That process is fairly costly. I will tell you, we've learned how to recycle them efficiently enough that it covers the cost of the disposal. It's not really a revenue generator for you, unfortunately. We are doing it at mega scale, both in Memphis and in Nashville. We'll do the same thing here, but I'll tell you, I wouldn't expect a lot of revenue to be generated from recycling them.
Okay, I rented it at North Point, when we put lights up, we had old lights that used to have in Memphis, and we got them. And then it cost a lot of money to get rid of them.
Exactly.
Alderman Dupree.
This question is for Mr. Jim. Did you talk to any other folks besides this gentleman here?
No, Stephen and I had spoken about that, and obviously, if the board moves forward with a motion for us to enter into RFQ process, it would go out to multiple people. We have to advertise in the paper, and I would imagine Entergy would be a part of that and give us a proposal also. But Stephen and I have talked about that, and I don't know, did anybody say they were going to be here?
I haven't gotten a response from anybody yet.
All right.
And how long has that been? Just today.
But the RFQ opens it up to anybody and everybody that wants to put in a quote for the same process.
If nobody has any questions, I'd like to make the motion. Go ahead and do that. Because it's better.
You want to make a motion? May I ask a question before? Thank you, sir. You have to excuse me, I'm old and I hear slow, and you talk faster than I hear.
I apologize.
So who owns the poles? I know you said it, but I couldn't understand.
Yeah, that's a good question. Who owns the poles at the end of the project is your question, I believe.
Right.
So if it is a standalone streetlight pole and it has no other purpose but to provide a structure for a streetlight to be mounted for, you guys will own that pole. If, however, it serves the purpose of both transmission of power, where you have lines running overhead, as well as an arm is mounted to it and a light's mounted to it, then Entergy is going to continue to own and maintain that pole.
Does Entergy have any kind of program like you're suggesting tonight?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And you guys will be getting that proposal from them. And you should look at it. Absolutely. Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, no problem at all. Thank you.
Hey, Jim, when we do this, they're gonna be apples to apples. I was just making sure, because, you know, we had one deal, they had oranges and we had apples, ended up with grapes.
Well, when we put together the request packet, all the specs will have to be in there, just like we do a lot of our bids. Everybody has to meet the requirements that we're looking for, so, and, you know, then we'll go through and look at all of them to make sure that everything is apples to apples.
Okay, that's kind of like the electrician in this building. Some of it was left off or had the wrong kind.
That's right.
Oh, Mr. Franklin, yes, sir.
Yes, sir. I was just going to say on that Entergy proposal, I'm happy to share this with you. I can tell you basically what it will look like. So whereas our project or our structure is that you guys pay for a project up front and you recoup a tremendous amount of savings over time that then pay yourself back. Entergy's proposal is likely, and I'm not going to speak for them, but it is likely, if I'm going to tell you what other cities have seen, it's going to require a very minimal upfront charge and a very minimal amount of savings moving on through time. But you'll get your lights converted. Anyway, you'll get your lights converted.
Thank you, Mr. Franklin.
Thank you, Mayor. I appreciate the time. Thank you all for letting me.
Don't run off. I think Alderman Dupree wanted the floor.
Mayor, I was just, wanting to move forward with this, so no more delay. We've been waiting long enough. I think we just need to move forward and get the other bids, and let's get this done.
What is your motion, sir?
My motion is to go ahead with the RFQ, to get the other bids in as well.
All right, so we have a motion by Alderman Dupree. Do we have a second?
Second, Mayor.
Second by Alderman Bostic. Is there any discussion? Ms. Julie, would you call the roll, please?
Aye.
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 Motion carries 7 in favor, none opposed. Thank you, Mr. Franklin.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Board. I appreciate
Thank
you
you.
guys. Thank you for the vote.
Be careful going home, sir.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Mr. Robinson, did you have anything?
No. Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Just the next, just waiting for you to call the next one, sorry.
All right. On letter F, Government Consulting, Mr. Nick Shore, who we relied on in the past for his good advice. Mr. Nick, you have the floor. You and Mr. Robinson, sir.
Yeah, I had, Mr. Nick and I have been talking, if you all are not aware, Government Consulting has been a part of what the city's been doing for quite some time now. Mr. Nick has been involved in 2 or 3 of our bonds, going back to our street bond and our renovation bond, which I, again, wish Mr. Dale was here because this is not wallpaper. This is a ceramic wallboard. And just so you all will know, this side is not finished because it was a great deal, but these wallboards come from Italy. And we had a shortage of them, and they were out on a boat somewhere. But you can be proud that you've got ceramic wallboards from Italy. But anyway, Mr. Nick's been a part of a lot of the things we have done here and working on getting us financially stable over the past few years. And we've been talking about several different things. And again, we've talked probably 4 or 5 years ago about a project that they do with other cities, which is a capital fund project where a city, once we started talking about this back in 2017, 2018, and the city was not financially able to entertain anything like this just because of our cash flow and our debt that we had at that time. As our debt has been rolling off and our cash flow and tax dollars, sales tax and everything has increased over time, now is a good time to talk about this this capital project fund where the city can utilize some of their tax dollars for, it's great timing that William was here. You can set together a 5-year plan and you could designate street lights. You want to have $1.8 million go into street lights. I think there's another discussion item on there for fire engines. You can set numerous different projects where this fund will end up totally funding those. If we need 2 fire engines, you can be working on putting that money there, and when it's time to purchase, we wouldn't have to take out, that money would be there, we wouldn't have to take a bond out with all kinds of interest. Mr. Nick will probably give some examples. The city of Tupelo, I know, has done multiple things with this, community center and maybe even an aquatic center. But he's going to share a little bit about that. Mr. Nick always follows our debt structure and our debt ratio, and looks at our debts all the time and discusses with us, financially what we need to be looking at. And I had asked him to come and kind of give you an update on that. And now's the time to talk about this capital fund project.
Thank you. Hello, Mr. Nick. Chief, thank you for going out there.
Do you have that? Oh, no, you're going to put it on the big screen. Sorry, hey, thanks for having me here. Good to see y'all.
Good to see you, Mr. Nick.
I'm going to apologize up front. I don't have a video. I don't have pictures. I don't have anything fun or exciting to show everybody. So I'll do better next time.
How about some magic? Everybody here knows Mr. Nick is a musician and going to the zoo and the library and stuff. So
I can assure you I am not fancy like that at all, right? There's nothing in my toolbox that could do that. But so, right, Mr. Jim and I have been talking for a while, for some years now, of several different things. And we wanted to just talk about briefly tonight the idea of creating a 5-year capital plan, right? So it's an idea first, right? It's appropriate, I think, now because we're about to start budget season. And as we go into the next budget season, what we're going to do is, and I think you have a copy, they all have a copy of the sample plan of the 5-year plan. But it's completely arbitrary. The numbers don't add up left or right. It's made up of another city or so. I fill in some blanks. I change some numbers. It's not tailored specifically to the city at all, right? So it's just a quick overview of what the basis, the bones of a plan kind of calls for. And I think they're passing it around now. So all it really is we look at everything that a city is going to buy that is going to get put in a capital asset, right? It's going to be capitalized. Anything that's going to last more than a year. It's not booked as a supply, right? So we look at budgets, we have personnel, supplies, contractual services, and capital outlay. So anything in that capital outlay column, we want to move away from what we normally budget in line item type budgeting, and we want to set it into a whole different budget. We call it a capital budget. And we look at it more from a zero-based analysis, right? So we should really be looking at an operational budget, which consists of just payroll, supplies, normal recurring things. It shouldn't be that exhausting of a process to go through. And then take all the big items, schedule all of them out, lay them all out. Everybody write down their wish list, what they want, what they're looking for, from streets to everything. And then we start to realize, we start to measure what revenue sources, cash from general fund, road and bridge funds, use tax, grants, MDOT money, DIP money, all these different types of things that exist, fire rebate insurance money for fire trucks, and other types of things, right? List those things out and assign them over a 5-year time frame to see what's achievable over that 5 years, what things can we get done, and make that part of the budget a little bit more exhausting because it should be, right? It should be that there's a lot of things that get written into it, right? And what I'll say is when you start one of these deals, and my partner did this 1980s when he started doing this in a city which he was employed in. We do it with counties, do it with cities, a lot of other places, right? It's cumbersome at first to kind of get started. You're looking at 5-6 years worth of stuff. You schedule it out, and you realize that every year you're going to have to review this. That's where the zero-based budgeting item comes into play. See what we're going to get done that year. Things are going to change, right? Revenues are going to change. New grant opportunities could exist. Other things can kind of come into play, right? And so you want to reaffirm it every year. Maybe move some things up or down a little bit. You should have one that focuses on governmental, and you should have one that focuses on utility, right? So we're hopefully going to introduce this idea to y'all. We'll kind of go through some things with Mr. Jim and I and the mayor. We're going to feedback from y'all. We'll develop what that plan looks like so y'all can see that as we kind of move through the budget season. So that's probably a long-winded thing to say is we want to try to work on some ideas, right? Also, too, I'm going to mention the So the next phase of with the financing plan that was put together for the city hall improvements and animal shelter piece will be handled, obviously, whenever the bids come back on the animal shelter side, and whatever the plan of action is for that. We had that original loan written as such that it could be taken out and consolidated into one new loan. And so we fully expect and anticipate that's what we'll do then. So just waiting for decisions to be made on that piece. And then we'll be working on either the consolidation of loan, new loan, however we need to get that financing piece added up and then placed into kind of a long-term financial plan position, which I think he's passing around some other scenarios as well, yeah. So we just a quick snapshot. We went back, looked at where the city is financially, what the city looks like long-term, kind of going forward, what's on the current horizon right now, which is the animal shelter project and the city hall loan being the most recent one, and kind of looked at where the debt service fund in particular could look like over the next couple of years based off of some things that are rolling off, what the value of a mill is, and certainly a couple different loan amounts. So one page goes with just kind of a max number that we had put in. The other page kind of follows along with our 5-year plan page deal. So that's scenario 1A is current or projections based off of some things. And then scenario 2 page is a page that kind of goes along with the 5-year plan page. But what I do plan on doing, a lot of nonsense going on, right, is clear this up based off of feedback that we get when we start to talk about the 5-year plan piece. We start to line some things up, we start to clear things up and get the math measure a little bit easier to understand, I should say. So, I mean, with that, I guess if there's any questions, I'd be happy to answer as well.
Alderman Guys.
For people that don't know, could you explain what a capital project is exactly that you're talking about?
Yes, sir. Yeah, so we develop a capital plan, we develop it around capital projects, as well as the purchase of capitalized items, right, assets. I wouldn't so much say it's computers, but computers are technically a capitalized asset, right? And so if we're going to go through a wholesale project of a roadway that's going to consist of curb gutter, sidewalk, drainage, and it's 3 miles length of road, that's a capital project, right? And so we want to add those things into a multi-year plan so we can kind of see how long it takes to build the road, curb gutter, drainage, all those pieces, where the revenue source is going to come from to pay for that, as well as other things that need to be happening in the same time, right? Fire trucks, fire stations, park improvements, fencing, lighting, right? It's a good item to place into it. And so it's looking at all the different things that are either currently going on or would the board would like to see happen in the next couple of years in a long-term plan. List all those capital projects together and put them all in one big schedule, one big kind of budget that covers all the years kind of going forward. If that makes sense, yeah, yes.
Anyone else? All right, Mr. Neek. Yes, sir.
Yeah. So yeah, we're gonna make this hopefully an easy process over the next couple of months. So tonight, I just wanted to kind of introduce the idea of what we plan on working towards, what we plan on looking at, talking to everybody about as we kind of go through the budget season. And then if there was any other, just broad questions that anybody had, I was happy to be here for as well. So.
Anyone have any questions for Mr. Nick? Alderman Young.
Thank you, Nick. I appreciate you coming all the way up here. Basically, for the audience that's out there, sitting out here, people don't really, what you're talking about doing is paying it forward so that we don't have to borrow the money for large projects to set the city into a financial debt. That's what we're basically talking about, just like we'd run a household. Is that correct?
Yeah, it's, right. Like the easiest way to put it is, I bought an older home, and so that's a capital project. I have a limited revenue source. My wife has a list that's longer than the revenue source can provide for, right? So I've remodeled 3 bathrooms. I still have 1 more to go. I've got a driveway needs to be done, but I had air conditioning that had to go out, right? So the driveway it's on the unbudgeted list on my capital project, my capital plan. So yeah, it is. Essentially, it's not too different than what anybody else would do. We want to write down all the things that are currently being done or would like to be done, and we match the revenues to kind of go with it, right? Yeah, that's really what we're talking about doing.
Basically just building it out so the city remains on financial stability, so that we're not reflective as to tax revenue and the mill rates and this, that, and the other. We're going to decide how much we want to put into this savings account. So over the next 5 years, we can have this budget to produce these items.
Right, yeah, I mean, it's necessarily a savings account. It's a capital project fund, right? There will be years where there'll be cash that'll kind of come up, cash that'll kind of go down, right? We're talking about fixed revenue sources, millage that exists now, right? Cash, application of grants, application of road and bridge funds, intergovernmental revenues that are coming from county, state funds, all those different things. Put them all into there to hopefully leverage and utilize those assets, being cash and funds, to the best extent that we can, right, for the city. Yeah, that's what we want to do. Yeah, we want to, the goal, and in some of the cities, some of the counties where we've done this is this is just not in particular for anybody, any place. You go to a meeting and someone comes in and says, well, we need 6 new dump trucks, or we need 3 new garbage trucks, or we need 27 police cars. Right? If we had a 5-year plan or a 6-year, 7-year plan, those discussions shouldn't be happening where you're October 1 or, God help, December 1, the lowest property tax revenue collection cycles where cash is at its all-time low in the revenue cycle of a city and government, right? We know that we have 27 police cars we need to buy. We know we have garbage trucks we need. We know we have ambulances. We know we have fire trucks. Those things have been scheduled out, and we know what years that we can afford to get those things done and when they're happening, right? And so that we kind of go through a cycle, an evolution of capital items, right? Of all those different capital items that are happening through the life cycle of each year kind of going forward, right? And so things will change a little bit, and that's okay. That's what you want, right? You want there to be an addition of an MDOT match program or the ARPA program, the DEQ SRF loan match program. Those things wasn't dreamed of in these 5-year plans that were written longer than 5 years ago, right? And so all of a sudden we had to retool some things to say, well, new revenue source, we could get some new projects done. We may shuffle some projects over to the right, to the left a little bit, but we're still sticking somewhat to the bones of the plan, and we're not scrambling all of a sudden to replace large-scale capital stuff that we never thought of, right? We never realized that we ever needed or is going to need at some point, Yeah.
Anyone else have any questions for Mr. Nick?
Mayor,
Mr. Billy?
I just kind of want to jump in on that. Just to be clear, what Nick is saying is he's not necessarily saying no new debt, because even on his, okay. That's right. Okay. Just want to be clear.
Right, yeah, that's right. There shouldn't be any real surprises, right? That's the goal. That's what we want to do. Yeah.
Anyone else have any questions? Do we need a motion to proceed? I don't think.
No, sir, I think this is where we're kind of headed, kind of discussion tonight.
All right.
Just informational, yeah.
All right, well, Mr. Nick, it's been a joy to see you, and we really appreciate the education you provided us tonight and the opportunity.
Yes, sir. Good to be here. Good to see y'all. Thank you.
Are you driving back tonight?
Yes, sir, I am. That driveway's not going to pave itself, so I got to make it back, all right?
Well, please be careful on
Yes,
the road.
sir. Yes, sir. Thank y'all.
Thank you, Mr. Nick. All right, planning. You have anything, Mr. Andrew?
No, sir.
All right, number 6, which is a public hearing, which I now declare open. Resolution for cleaning private property. We have some private property that's not been maintained. This is a hearing. Authorize the city, if it so chooses, to go in there and clean up the property and then recuperate the cost of that. Is there anyone in the audience to speak yea or nay, or any comments on the property listed on this? Anyone? That being the case, the public hearing is now closed. Do we have a motion?
Mayor,
Alderman Geis.
I make a motion to approve the resolution for cleaning private property as listed.
We have a motion by Alderman Geis. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Alderman Young. Is there any discussion? Roll call, please.
Alderman Young.
Aye.
Alderman Dupree.
Aye.
Alderman Johnson.
Aye.
Alderman Bostick.
Aye.
Alderman Guy.
Aye.
Alderman Bledsoe. Alderman Klein.
Aye.
Motion carries 7 in favor, none opposed. All right, under new business, which is Roman numeral 6, letter B, discussion regarding proposed DeSoto County / city's cost sharing of a crime lab technicians. At the last board meeting, the board asked Mr. Campbell and I to pursue this, and I'll admit to y'all, I have not had the opportunity to do anything. Have you, Mr. Campbell?
Yes, sir, Mr. Mayor, I have. I think the county attorney has kind of been getting comments from all of the cities on this, and there were a flurry of emails today about it, and I expect to get a draft interlocal agreement from him probably. I don't know if I'll have it by the next meeting. It may be the meeting after that, but it'll be, you know, one of the things we talked about was the cost to us, and I do expect that to have a caseload fee in there, so it won't be an equal $50,000 from each entity, but it will be based upon each entity's caseload, probably over a 3-year rolling period. So our fee will be based upon our caseload from 23, 22, and 21, and the numbers I got today, we were near the bottom as compared to even Hernando was higher than us, and obviously Olive Branch and South Haven were higher than us. So I do expect a caseload fee on that draft interlocal agreement that we'll get.
Thank you, sir, and thank you for your work on it. I spoke with the mayor of one of the other cities today, and I mentioned the fact that our police chief was pointed out that we usually spend between $5,000 and $10,000 a year on this, and thought maybe 50,000 was out of line, and he thought theirs might be out of line, and his suggestion was he had instructed their attorney to do what you did, just to work with the attorneys of other cities and with the county. Also, I think all the board members know, but just for everybody else, this proposed drug lab, there is a drug lab at Batesville. What this is to pay the I guess pathologist, or whatever would be the proper medical term, or the forensics, to 2 of them to concentrate just on DeSoto County. It would not cover any other type of crime except drug-related crimes. That would be the extent of their work. Does anybody have any questions? Mr. Campbell?
Mayor, I was going to add, somebody gave, I don't know if it was somebody from the DA's office or who, but somebody gave a presentation to Hernando, maybe at the last meeting. And what was also contained in that presentation, as I understand it, I haven't seen it, was possibly looking at building a local crime lab here in DeSoto County. I was told today that's a long-term goal. That's not going to be contained in this current interlocal agreement that we're talking about, where we're just talking about paying 2 lab techs. But if you hear something about that, just understand that's long-term, kind of a pie-in-the-sky wish for now.
Thank you, sir. That meeting with the DA, he kind of alluded to that. It would be nice to have their own crime lab for DeSoto County. But when they got to looking, I think, about the cost of it, they decided to approach the state, see if we could use the crime lab in Batesville would just pay for the 2 medical technicians, or whatever the medical term is for them, to conduct those tests. Does anybody have any questions? Alderman Klein?
Just operational procedure, and Chief, you might be able to help me on it. So, in my mind's eye, how's this work now? You will submit to that crimes lab. How would they put it in line, as far as caseload, I hate to think that, no more than what we have, it's not based on that. It'd be based on as they come in. I would like to know a process, that they're going to put in place to receive it, and it keeps you in line, and they rotate off from that to where you're knowing that you're not being pushed aside. Everyone's being handled as they come in. How's it being done at the state level? Because, you're saying it's 6 months, 7 months, and we don't know if they're pushing you down or up or what.
Mr. Riley might know better than me on this. My understanding is that they'll focus on the backlog first. And I'm not certain about going forward. I've not gotten any of this information, so I can't speak for how they'll handle it going forward. I was told they'd work on the backlog first.
All right, so we'd be taking the backlog from the state?
I don't know, Alderman Klein. We'll try to find out those details.
Okay, because I hate to think that those 2 technicians are going to be behind the 8 ball from the get-go. I'd like to think that they're starting fresh and would stay up with it, and the state would get caught up, by taking it off.
So by backlog, I don't mean statewide backlog, more so and again, this is just my understanding. I could be completely off on this, but it is, that was my question, was how can we know that they will be focused completely on DeSoto County cases? And that's what was reiterated to me, was it would be the backlog of the DeSoto County cases, and then go forward. I don't know going forward how that will be handled.
Anyone else? All right. Under new business, C, discussion regarding purchase of new fire engines. Alderman Young, I believe you wanted to make some comments or questions to the board?
Yes, thank you, sir.
Yes, sir.
And Chief Linville is definitely the resident expert on this. We have 2 engines that are coming up. One of them, I believe, Chief, is a 09, and the other one is a 3. Am I right?
We have a 07 and a 09 that'll go out in 27 and 29. But since you've already got the capital outlay tonight, we've already got that budgeted, I hope, and a new station too. So all that being said, I would like to ask in this question, Alderman Young, if the board would allow me to get pricing on 2. Pretty much right now, we ordered truck 3. That was almost a 2-year process. So talking to fire truck manufacturer, they pretty much saying don't even come and ask for one unless it's 3 years or further. So if we did one in a 3-year, 4-year purchase, you wouldn't have to buy them until you receive them. But say you had one delivered in 27 and one in 28, at least we could get a state contract price. There are some fees put in there if there's an inflation, that those prices may move up, but they would be on a state contract price if the board so sees. I've never went out and asked for a bid unless the board approved me to get that price. So tonight, if the board so choose to want to do that, yeah, we have 2 that are going to go out. One of them is an 07. 27 is not far around the bend. And then, of course, the other one goes out. And like I said, these fire trucks are not going to surplus, but we have a 99 that we run today as a reserve. I would say that one will end up going to be surplused out or to send it out. But the other 2 would probably stay as a reserve pumper, because we only have 1 reserve pumper now. We have 1 reserve ladder truck. Ladder truck went in service Sunday, St. Patrick's Day. That was the first day to start manning it. So every day is at least 2 on it. In April, we're doing tryouts. I hope to hire 3 more so we can put 3 on it every day. So that's the goal on that, doing the 6-month hiring for the new people. Tonight, you promoted my drivers. Last meeting, you promoted the lieutenants. So all the promotions kind of done in play, and then we need to go out and hire a few more, but that's about it. We're pretty much staffing it now, but that's kind of where we're at on that. And then, like I said, the 2 pumpers, unfortunately, when you buy one, the ladder truck has got a 30-year lifespan. The pumpers have a 20. Rating Bureau kind of wants you to have them being replaced within a reasonable time. You know, if you had to replace it in 28, I don't think they would gig you too hard, but they would be looking at you to at least say you got it ordered if you replace it in 29 or 30. But that is something that the city needs to look at, and y'all were looking at this capital outlay, and that is a big capital outlay. It's a big expense. I would estimate them to be $1 million a piece. I'm not going to give you a definite number, but with equipment and everything on it, right now, an air pack, you know, when I started, they was $3,000 or $4,000. Right now, they're $10,000 to buy an air pack. That's just one. So the truck needs at least, you know, the 4 on it. So when you look at that, you could, you know, just say you're going to order some equipment with it. Not necessarily everything. We'll take a lot of the stuff can come off the other trucks to go on it, but when you're running a reserve pumper, engine 4 is our reserve. It only takes about 10 minutes for them to get off one truck and get on the other because all the equipment's sitting there ready to go. They check it off every day. The ladder truck 1 is still equipped. So if they have to get on it, they're able to get on it pretty quick and roll. If we need an extra truck, it can go. You just have to call in overtime. But that's kind of where I'm at on it, Alderman Young. If the board so choose to want to get a price and a quote, I could probably have that at either, I don't know if I have it definitely back by the next meeting, but at least the first one in, or second one in April.
Thank you, Chief. Alderman Young.
Are these GSA bid or state bid, or both?
It kind of falls in both. We've bought off the GSA grant, state contract, but it falls under the state contract guidelines.
Thank you.
Alderman Bledsoe.
All right, when we order these 2 fire trucks, the state rating thing will come. In other words, we won't be out of thing if they don't get here to 2029. So the state rating will, once you order them, you're good for a while, right?
Well, yeah, you would show them as you've got them on purchase or on order. Manufacturers is where we're at on that. I mean, like I said, we started out with the truck to try to have it in, I want to say we was going to try to have it in the first part of the year, but it was more like September, October before we got it last year.
Yeah, I just didn't want our fire rating to drop because we're late ordering these fire trucks.
No, I'm hoping to get them in here shortly by the end of this year and maybe look at it. Maybe we can drop to a 3. We're currently a 4, but I think with the staffing with the truck and this, we probably can drop at least 1 more.
Well,
But-
every time we drop, it helps the citizens out here with their money.
Yeah, it's saving on their insurance premiums.
Mayor? But, and it's also helping the businesses.
More so the businesses.
Yes.
When
So,
you
I mean,
drop below the 6, the 6 really helps on residential. When you drop below that, it really goes to the commercial side for the bigger savings for the warehouses, Walmart, Home Depot, the bigger places, in businesses, yeah.
Alderman Young.
Are we going, Ms. Billy, we're going to need a motion to go ahead and move this process forward.
I was looking, if they're on a state contract, we have a price, don't we?
Right.
We have to get the specs laid out and turn it in as to what we're wanting, because there's that part of it, what you're gonna buy with the truck. They're not just a flat state contract price on a fire truck, but they are on state contract. But your specs hold that. But I had pulled the specs from Engine 2, which was our last pumper. I don't know that we need a motion, but I'd like to know the board's okay with me attaining a price and then bringing you a figure. It's your decision then whether you order the truck or not, or wait. I mean, that's.
Mayor.
Alderman Young.
I'd like to go ahead and just clarify it so we go ahead and get it done, to make the chief feel good and the citizens feel good. Go ahead and make a motion that we go ahead and go out for pricing on 2 new engines to replace the 2 going out. Go ahead, let's get the numbers on those. We can go ahead and get them into our capital.
Second.
We have a motion by Alderman Young, a second by the fireman, Alderman Bledsoe.
Mayor? I would
Any
like,
discussion, Alderman Clyde?
I would like to add to that, you know, for the year 2027, and year 2029, I think is what you said, I believe.
Yeah, 27 or, well, just depends on how far you do it. Right now, they don't really probably want to give you a state contract on a price too much further than 3 to 4 years, because that's their time frame of building it.
Gotcha.
But we could push that out, saying we want one in 27, 28, 29. That would be the delivery dates.
I just wanted, because a little confused there, because when we first brought it up, it was 27th and 29th, but you're saying probably 27th, 28th in order to bring it in within that 3-4 year period.
Yeah,
Okay.
and you know, and at that point, you've ordered them, you've put them out, but you've kind of locked yourself on a price. That's another thing too, that the company's trying to do, or the manufacturer's trying to lock you in on a price that you're not gonna be $300,000 or $400,000 out of budgeted when the time comes to purchase.
Now, just one more thing, and that'd be one thing that would be added to that capital.
And we need a new fire station too in there.
Yes.
Or remodel it, but I think you ought to just build a new one.
We're gonna need to catch a
Okay.
leprechaun and get that pot of gold if we keep adding.
Thank you, Mayor.
Yes, sir. Did you request an Alderman Young to put that in his motion?
A 3 to 4 year, you wouldn't get them the same time. You would want one and then stagger it, at least 1 year difference, yes.
I would amend the motion that we go ahead and get the process, bid process or the quote process moving on this, and whatever it requires us to maintain our fire rating, to make sure we replace the pumpers in due time, whatever that is.
We have a motion by Alderman Young. We have a second by Alderman Bledsoe. Is there any more discussion? Roll call, please, Ms. Julie Lee.
Alderman Young.
Aye.
Alderman Dupree.
Aye.
Alderman Johnson.
Aye.
Alderman Bostic.
Aye.
Alderman Guy.
Aye.
Alderman Bledsoe. Alderman Clun.
Aye.
Motion carries 7 in favor, none opposed. All right, number 7, citizens' remarks. Thank you. Please remember when you come forward, there's a 3-minute time limit. When you hit 3 minutes, I'm going to hit the gavel. But this is not, the reason for this is a lot of times people will bring up things and hit the alderman cold. And we can't make a motion, the board can't. It's not fair to ask them to make a decision without the information or background. So this is more or less for you to express a concern, and if you want to pursue it further, call and get on the agenda for the next meeting. All right, Miss Betty Young. Ma'am?
It's okay, scratch me off.
All right, Mr. Dale Wilson. Take on. Thank you very much. Okay. I just want to thank everyone for a good meeting tonight. I know it's going on long, but sometimes those are necessary. And I want to thank all you citizens for sitting out there. I know some of you not used to sitting this long, but we're awful glad you did. Thank you, Chief Pullen, for going out there. And I don't know who that officer was, but he was class act. When he walked into the building, he took off his hat. It was a class act. Please tell him that, please. And I just want to thank all the department heads and all the employees of the city the board, Mr. Campbell, everybody, and all the staff for the great work you do for the citizens of DeSoto County. Alderman Young, you have anything, sir?
I do, sir. Just two things if I could. One, Horn Lake Optimist Club will be meeting on the Thursday at, in this auditorium here, if they're out. And the second thing is, I talked to the Lions Club today, and the, I don't want to use the word bid, but I lost the word I'm looking for. The grant has been written, and it will be turned into LCI, which is Lions Club International in Chicago, Illinois, by next week. They don't see any hiccups on it so far, so we should have our ADA Park some good news on that very, very soon.
That is fantastic.
So thank you, Mr. Drew, for all your efforts in that and getting that done, and you're finna get real busy. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Alderman Dupree, you have anything, sir?
No, sir.
Alderman Johnson?
Yes, sir. I just want to say thank you to the department heads and to all of the employees. When something is asked of you, not work-related necessarily, but in community engagements, you all show up. And not just one or two. You all really show up for different events. Horn Lake Intermediate on March 8th, just to come out to read. The mayor was out, and several fire department, police department, aldermen donating things. Just thank you so much for not just being an employee, but a part of a family, part of the community. Thank you so much for that.
Thank you for those remarks, Alderman. Alderman Bostic, you have anything, sir? Alderman Geis? Alderman Bledsoe? Well,
It's been 2 months.
you brought it up at the last meeting. I went and talked to our stormwater man, Mr. Simcoe, and he told me, this is gonna involve you, Mr. Andrew, because he's in your department, that if they hadn't done it by Friday, he was gonna get a stop work order. Now, I know the big storm came Thursday night. Now, I have not spoken to him this week about that. Have you, Mr. Andrew?
I know we've gone through this particular location a bunch of times. I have not asked Mr. Simcoe the details on when the guy that was supposed to come fix the issue. I know he was on his way the last time I talked to him. The details are fuzzy on which day that was. During that day the storm was coming, I know the guy was trying to beat the storm to get there to fix it, but right now I don't recall if he got there in time to fix it before the storm.
Well, I think that Alderman Bledsoe's made it very plain over several meetings, just how important it is about the stormwater regulations. So if you would, this is not a try situation. This is a get it done situation within the next couple of days. They either get out there and do the work or shut them down, stop work. Alderman Bledsoe.
Yes, sir.
One thing about it, if DEQ comes, I've talked to Vince, because Vince is big on stormwater, he knows all about it. But DEQ comes up here, they don't write a $2 ticket. They write a big ticket. And everybody that gets a building permit knows that they're supposed to have stormwater before they do this stuff. They're supposed to have the stuff up. And saying, well, I'll get it next week, that's beyond my belief. When I stormwater guy, we stop work order. So I don't expect no more than anybody else, except do what's on the paper that you're supposed to do, or either stop until you get your ducks in a row.
Very well said. Anything else, sir? Okay. Alderman Klein.
Yes, sir. One thing is, I just asked of the board and the department heads and the citizens of Horn Lake to keep William Egner in their prayers. He's been very sick and in the hospital, and he's needing our prayers.
Yes, sir. I think he got a little better this evening.
Yes.
Mr. Francis J. Miller said that he was out of intensive care and into a room now. Thank you for the update, Mr. Francis J. Miller. Thank you, sir. All right. Chief Pullen, again, thanks for going out there a while ago. Do you have anything for the board?
Yes, sir, Mayor. I'd gotten a message from an officer that someone had turned in some keys.
Ma'am?
Someone had turned in some keys to an officer, and the keys are on a white advanced safe and lock key ring. They're right outside the door. If they belong to anyone, just let me know, and we'll get them back to you. That's it.
Thank you. Anybody on the board have questions for Chief? Mr. Stephen, you have anything for the board?
I would just like to wish everybody in Horn Lake, board and all that, happy upcoming Easter here at the end of this month. It's in March this year, so I wish everybody a happy Easter, and that's all I got.
Anyone have any questions? Very nice. Thank you for that, sir. Chief Linville, you have anything for the board, sir?
No, Mayor, I don't have anything else.
Anybody have any questions for Chief Linville? I am too. He's had a rough time.
Me too.
Mr. Drew, I hope you're going to make announcements about the Easter festivities this weekend.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Board. This Saturday is going to be our Easter egg hunt and our Easter event at Latimer Lakes Park. It's going to start at 11:30 and run to 2. The Easter egg hunt will begin at 1 o'clock. So it'll go by age group. We'll have 1 o'clock, 1:15, 1:30, and 1:45 on that.
Your playground equipment looks great. You said, I think your words were that the children were swarming over it. Is that correct?
Yes, sir. They absolutely love it. It is a big hit for the park.
It's a fine addition. Thank you, sir. Anybody have a question? Alderman Young.
How did you get Mr. Bledsoe to get in that Easter bunny costume?
I don't think so.
I'll email you all a flyer tomorrow. I'll get it to you.
Thank you. It's always fun. Everybody try to come out, especially fun to watch the kids pick up thousands of eggs in about 5 minutes.
Question,
Alderman Klein.
Drew, how you coming along with your coaches?
Coaches for baseball are good, sir. Yeah.
I know at one time you was needing a couple more coaches, and you got those filled?
Yes, sir. Everything's filled. We're ready to go.
You coaching?
No, sir. Also, I want to make one quick announcement. We did get speed bumps. So we have the speed breakers, and they are placed at the main drive at Latimer now. So that should slow the traffic down through there.
Good. Anybody else have any questions for Mr. Drew? Mr. Vance, good evening. You have anything for the board, sir?
Good evening, Mayor. No, sir, not this time.
Anyone have any questions for Mr. Vance?
Yes, sir.
Alderman Klein.
Hey, Mr. Vince, how's our street program going?
We're making progress towards coming up with the actual streets that we're going to be working on this next year for phase 1 and 2. Have not definitively gotten all those streets yet, but as soon as we do, we're going to present you with a map.
All right, and are they listed in the internet for the people to maybe go out there and look at it and see what streets are coming up?
Yes, sir, they will be once we get those identified.
Okay, thank you.
We go to IT.
Anyone else for Mr. Bentz? Mr. Andrews, do you have anything for the board, sir?
Yes, sir, Mr. Mayor. Just wanted to announce that the Horn Lake Animal Shelter has several events that'll be happening this month. And I heard you all ask Mr. Drew for his flyer, and since he has graciously invited the animal shelter to participate in that event, I will give you all a flyer that we have printed for his event, but this is going to be the version with the animal shelter on it.
Oh, great. It is great.
That's all I got. Thank you.
Anybody have any questions for Mr. Andrews? Thank you, sir. Both these flyers are great. I didn't know y'all had them. These are great. Oh, they had sent me a note, some lady raised her hand about something. This is not a public hearing. If you want to say something, you need to sign up on the citizens' remarks, or else get on the agenda. It was all just protocol. All right. Mr. Hawkinsmith, do you have anything for the board, sir?
No, sir.
Anyone have any questions for Mr. Andrew?
Mayor.
Alderman Bledsoe.
I apologize, I'm not getting on you. I'm just stating facts, okay?
I totally understand. It's fine.
Alderman Klein.
Hey, Andrew, are we fully staffed now for the code enforcement, or are we still looking?
I've been assured by our code enforcement supervisor that we have adequate staffing in code at this time. Now, for future years, of course, as the city grows, we are looking to expand code enforcement and planning positions altogether, but at this time, he's fine with the amount of code officers we have right now.
Well, I've noticed that it seems like that list is getting smaller and smaller each meeting, and I would think it'd be growing. So that's why I was asking about the code enforcement. Are y'all changed up the process or something as far as giving them more opportunity, or?
Are you talking about code enforcement or the
Yes,
planning side?
I'm talking about the code enforcement as far as these lots that need to be cleaned up and that type of thing. I've noticed they're way down.
Yes, sir. So our two code enforcement officers that have kept their positions the longest, they have maintained a very steady amount of cases. I believe they both are at about 40 cases each. And then our brand new code officer, he's been getting trained, and he just got approved to officially start violation notices, I'd say a few weeks ago, and he's picked up about, he's getting to about 15 right now, and so as the weeks goes on, he's picking them up. So gradually, we're seeing that code officers physically and mentally are handling about 40 cases each, so we see our new code officer reaching that level. And as long as fast as he can learn. Our previous code officers that have maintained their positions, they were fast learners. They're very good at identifying things in the code. So we believe this new code officer is going to be the same way.
All right, so is that 3 code enforcement officers and a supervisor, or just
Yes, sir.
2?
Three regular code officers and a supervisor.
Okay, very good.
And the supervisor, he manages the code officers and also is primarily focused on the grass issues. So when the grass issues come up, he should be overseeing that part. And then the brand new code officer is going to be doing all the other things that the other 2 were.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Anybody else? Alderman Young.
We just went out and looked for a 5th one, am Am I right? The budget for it.
Yes, so I've been talking to Jim about how we can fix our need for more planning personnel rather than code enforcement using that money. And we have a very strong need for, we really need another person for taking phone calls, answering emails, answering walk-ins. We have a high volume of building permits, licensing that needs to be reissued. And so we're getting to a point where if we want to process things correctly, we need people in the offices, not just taking in money and signing papers, but going through every single piece of every single application. And when we have to spend all this time to do things correctly, we just naturally get a backlog of these things. And so our stronger need is in permitting, plans reviews, licensing, and putting together cases.
We'll consider this, we'll have this conversation later. It didn't work.
All right.
All right.
Mr. Jim, you have anything for the board?
I do, and I just wanted to add a little tidbit to that. I mean, in the budget that you all approved, there is another part-time code enforcement that always comes along at grass time. That's still in the budget. And in reviewing, and Mr. Andrew and I were reviewing the budget, he had some questions about it. I forgot that you all went back at budget time and insisted on, there's actually another code officer, full-time, that's in the budget for this year. And I believe Ms. AJ may have put that out to advertise for that. But there's also still the assistant planner person that is in the budget also. Mr. Andrew may look at, instead of, if we advertise for assistant planner and say Mr. Billy moves up to that, and I don't want to put words in his mouth, there's still another position there in the planning department which he could utilize, if he wants to get some more office staff to help with the flow of things. There's still things that can be done, because there's still another full-time planner position that those funds can be utilized, as Mr. Andrew was saying, for helping the flow of day-to-day go better as he sees fit. So there's room in the budget for growth, but I just wanted to share that. And I did want to share, I put at your seats the bills that came out again that are in the House and the Senate, just so you'll know what MML and our lobbyist is looking at that could affect us. And I also placed the sales tax report. That did come in. Obviously, we get that in March, but that is actually for January, and that was $556,649, which was up from January of last year over 10,000. So don't want to jinx this, but you can kind of see on your chart the difference in last year's has quite a bit of red on it. So far this year, we are trending quite well, and it's. I hope that trend continues all year long to where we see an increase. You can see for the year, we're ahead of the game, 104,000 there on that last column all the way down of what we had projected. So very good news financially for the sales tax.
Anyone have any questions for Mr. Jim? Anyone? And just for the board's information, they are shorthanded. between some computer problems with the software company. It's really slowed down getting out the business licenses, and Miss Tammy and Miss Connie are having a heck of a time getting them all up to date. I know Miss AJ and Miss Julie tried to come up with a way to do them in batches, and Mr. Daniel tried to, and it's just a slower process. It's just, what the old saying, it is what it is. Mr. Campbell, you have anything for the board?
I do not, Mr. Mayor.
Anyone have any questions, Mr. Campbell? All right, at this time, do we have a motion to go into a closed determination?
Mayor,
Alderman Geis,
make a motion to go into closed determination for executive session.
we have a motion by Alderman Geis. Do we have a second? Second by Alderman Young. Is there any discussion? Miss Julie, would you call the roll, please, ma'am?
Alderman Klein. Aye. Alderman Bledsoe. Alderman Guy.
Aye.
Alderman Bostic.
Aye.
Alderman Johnson.
Aye.
Alderman Dupree.
Aye.
Alderman Young.
Motion carries 7 in favor, none opposed. Ladies and gentlemen, if y'all will excuse us for a moment, please.
I make the motion to come out of closed determination.
Motion by Alderman Bostic. Do we have a second? Second by Alderman Young. Is there any discussion? Roll call, please.
Alderman Young. Aye. Alderman Dupree. Aye. Alderman Johnson.
Aye.
Alderman Bostic.
Aye.
Alderman Guy.
Aye.
Alderman Klein.
Aye.
Motion carries 6 in favor. favor, one absent. Do we have a motion to go into executive session?
Mayor.
Alderman Boston.
Make a motion to go into executive session for discussion of personnel matters in the Animal Control Department.
We have a motion to Alderman Boston. Do we have a second? Second. Second to Alderman Young. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Alderman Klein.
Aye.
Alderman Grimes.
Aye.
Alderman Moncrief.
Aye.
Alderman Johnson.
Aye.
You do whatever you think you do.
We have a motion to come out of executive session.
Mayor, I make a motion to come out of executive session.
Alderman Foster. We have a second. Second by Alderman Bledsoe. Is there any discussion? Roll call, please.
Alderman Young.
Aye.
Alderman Dupree. Aye. Alderman Johnson.
Aye.
Alderman Bostic.
Aye.
Alderman Geis.
Aye.
Alderman Bledsoe. Alderman Klein.
Motion carries 7 in favor, none opposed. Before we go on, the ones of y'all I talked to about tonight about the soil and water conservation, get together, please let me know in the morning. Just call me and say, if I don't hear from you, I guess it's a no. So far, all I've got going is Alderman Dupree, Alderman Young is going. Who else is going to it? Anybody? Rest of them said they could think about it. So just let me know in the morning, because I have to call them and give them a body count. Where's it gonna be? All right. We are back in session. Do we have any motions as a result of the executive session?
Mayor,
Alderman Young.
I move to terminate employee 590 due to her failure and/or inability to return to work and perform the essential functions of her job as described.
We have a motion by Alderman Young. Do we have a second? Do we have a second? Second by Alderman Bledsoe. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Alderman Klein.
Aye.
Alderman Bledsoe. Alderman Geis.
Nay.
Alderman Bostic.
Nay.
Alderman Johnson.
Aye.
Alderman Dupree. Nay. Alderman Young.
Aye.
Motion carries 4 in favor, 3 opposed. All right, before we look, Chief Level said he just got a nice donation from Ms. Straub, insurance company, State Farm, and he will address the board more fully on it next meeting.
It's just a $500 donation for the fire department kids like she's been doing in the last, her girl that works for her, brought out there with some literature tonight, and dropped off. I'll bring it to you next board meeting for your
Public exposure. And Chief Bullitt, would you please see, Alderman Boston at the meeting in just a second? Do we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Alderman Young made the first, you second, Alderman Bledsoe. Motion by Alderman Young, second by Alderman Bledsoe. Is there any discussion? Roll call, please, Mr. Jim.
Alderman Young.
Aye.
Alderman Dupree. Aye. Alderman Johnson.
Aye.
Alderman Bostic.
Aye.
Alderman Geis.
Aye.
Alderman Bledsoe. Alderman Klein.
Aye.